G from Where There's Smoke. Took a little longer to get into the live than I wanted to, but I was watching a few extra videos I'm gonna throw kind of at the front. I was fucking around with some settings and stuff, but I'm gonna do the audio and video quality test as always, make sure everything's all good, and then we're gonna jump right into it. I have probably 3 or 4 little videos at the beginning, a couple new songs I'm checking out, and then we're gonna jump right into the Rogan and Trump thing. And I would say it's gonna be at least an hour and a half stream. I've got several points I want to hit on, and I might even have a call-in guest this show, so we'll see. But let me get my stream up on the side, check everything out, and then we'll jump into it.
It's that Centex boys, and we're out here, and we got something to say. Man, what the fuck is going on with the world nowadays? People going crazy over little things. Another day. Another day I gotta go ahead and do something I wanna do. Ain't no one wanna do it for me. This world can be so lonely. To the top, looking back at all the lives that were lost on the way. Another day, just to pray, forget the pain. What the fuck is up with the world nowadays? People going crazy over little things. Is it even Sunday? Jesus saves. Thank God I'm blessed to see another day. Gotta go ahead and do something I wanna do. Ain't no one wanna do it for me. This world can be so lonely. To the top, looking back at all the lives that were lost on the way. Another day, just to pray, forget the pain. What the fuck is up with the world nowadays? People going crazy over little things. Is it even Sunday?
All right, let me do one last thing real quick. Okay. We should be one more thing. Okay, we should be good to go. There we go. Okay. First things first, I want to shout out a couple songs I've been jamming lately. I actually been fucking with 4 Bats Act 3. I know he's kind of like not brand new or anything. He's about at least a year old, if not more. But I really been fucking with his song lately. Again, I think it's called Act 3. She Like. I've been really fucking with that song, jamming it lately. I really like his music, kind of a new sound. I sent it to one of my homies. He said it reminded him of Tory. And shout out Tory. Hopefully he gets out soon. And I saw someone posting something about it. If I can remember, I might talk about it soon. But anyway, I've been jamming the 4 Bad song. And then I actually found a couple new songs by some Austin artists that I'm going to preview. I haven't really had a chance to jam them much because the one song is actually brand new. Shout out to Winter Circle, Mac Live, G-Doll and the Boys. They have a new song I'm going to preview just a little bit of. I haven't really had the chance to jam it much. I think I've listened to it once because it's brand new. And then I actually went out to the Winter Circle show this weekend. Had a dope time, posted a little bit of content on the channel, and been sharing some of their stuff. And I actually found out about another artist while I was there. So I'm going to play one of her songs. And then I feel like there was one other song. Maybe that's it, just those 3. So I'm going to preview those songs real quick. And then, like I said, there's 1 or 2 other little short things. And then we're going to get into the Trump and Rogan thing pretty quickly. So let's get into it. This is Winter Circle, Mac Live, G-Doll, and Jody. That's who I went and saw this weekend, and they've been getting the shit going for at least a year now. All these artists are like deep in the game, but the Winter Circle collective has been over the past year or so, and they're really starting to bring like a good movement to the Austin area. So y'all go check them out for sure.
Boy. My screen down, my feet feel relaxing. Jackets try to take me off my foes, it won't happen. Riding with that strap on me, I ain't never lacking. When I pull the slab out, lights, camera, action. My screen down, my feet feel relaxing. Jackets try to take me off my foes, it won't happen. Riding with that strap on me, I ain't never lacking. When I pull the slab out,
jumped in the Macker. My paper stack
Inspector. I'm feeling good, my bitch pressure. Her soft leather, compliment the wood, them foes poking. The roof open, bitch on the hood, the trunk open. My bitch glowing, I treat her good, tip from Franklin Park to Fairway. Riding in my screw plate, slow down UGK, freestyling with my brother Grace. Thank you.
So I don't want to play too much or spoil the song or anything, but y'all definitely go check out this song. Show love, show support. I fuck with the local scene. Y'all go check out YouTube channel MacLife24. Y'all go check out G Dollar, Joe D Rollins. Y'all go fuck with everybody in the Winter Circle. They got some dope music coming out, and I really fuck with the vibes and the energy, and the music's dope. If the music wasn't dope, I wouldn't be jamming it. G Dollar's got a lot of dope music, and these new guys are new that he's fucking with on a consistent basis. Not really new to him or like new to music, but more or less new to the Winter Circle thing and really pushing it this last year. So fucking with some dope people. So y'all go check them out and show love. Then this other song, this is an artist I actually found out about at the show that I went and saw G all that. Baby Rose. And the funny thing, I was going through some of her songs and I'm contemplating asking her on the channel for an interview, but I listened to this song and I liked it and I was jamming it and I thought, damn, this sounds like a beat that I was gonna use or that I knew about. And this was a beat that I had like saved away because I fuck with music here and there on the side, and I just thought it was interesting that a lot of people pull their beats from YouTube, and that's like kind of, you know, that's just what tends to happen. I'd love to have conversations with artists about why that is, and you know, that's a whole other topic. But anyway, I just thought it was funny that this was a beat that I was potentially thinking about rapping to, and then she had a song to it. So it was a Jack Harlow beat or type beat called, I think it was either No 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 or Nah Nah Nah, but you get it. It's got that little ding 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 ding.
Used to want love, no, no, not no more. I don't trust nobody, no, no, not no more. I don't wanna be around nobody, no, no, no. I don't mind being so low, 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 low. Used to want love, no, no, not no more. I don't trust nobody, no, no, not no more. I don't wanna be around nobody, no, no, no. I don't mind being so low, 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 low. Yeah, not no more, not no more.
Again, I'm not gonna play the whole song. I don't want to copyright or spoil it or anything. Y'all go check it out. The official Baby Rose, just her straight up name is Baby Rose. But decent song. I like the flow and the hook, and yeah, I just thought it was crazy that it was a beat that I also had heard of before this, so that's interesting. But y'all go check her out. And she was a good performance like at the show. It was female artist. I'm always like, you got to be damn good for me to like be entertained. And it was, I mean, she was good to look at, I'm not gonna lie, but the music was popping too. It wasn't some like, I've heard female artists before, I'm like, this ain't it. So it was something you could jam to, bob your head to. It got the other females moving, which I wasn't hating on. And anyway, y'all go check that out. So those are my songs that I'm jamming to. Like I said, the beginning of live streams, I want to kind of just shout out a few songs that I've either recently heard of or that I've been actually jamming and that I'm fucking with. So the two new that I heard of are the Winter Circle, but check out the song on Mac Life 2024, Lights Camera Action, and then the other one was Not No Mo by the Baby Rose on YouTube. And the one that I actually been jamming and fucking with heavy, but it's a more mainstream song, is the Four Bats Act 3. So this is the last little thing that's not about the Trump thing before I get into that. And this is just a real quick funny thing. If you're out of the loop, Dwayne Wade just got a new statue in Miami and it looks nothing like the man. So y'all already know if y'all, well, Dwayne Wade's just not the most moral, what am I trying to say? He doesn't have the highest moral fabric, let's just put it that way. But that's kind of beside the point, the whole of the conversation. But let's just watch this real quick.
The Mavs and Timberwolves, followed by New Orleans and Golden State. TNT NBA tip-off presented by CarMax. The studio all set for Halloween.
So disrespectful to the Charlotte Hornets.
Very impressive. Very impressive. That is.
That's disrespectful.
I don't know why they would single out the Hornets.
Can we go show that again? Go back.
Let's get to the Wade part.
Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, and in one of the weirdest coincidences of all time,
What's that?
we've all dressed as Dwayne Wade for Halloween. Isn't that amazing?
Are you saying that the thing doesn't look?
Yeah,
That
I'm
looks
saying-
like him.
that does not look like him.
It looks like.
All right. Does that, excuse me. Does that look like Dwayne Wade to y'all? It looks like a fucking demon. And it's funny because, like, they showed a side by side of Wade and another picture or something that I saw online. And in the picture, Wade was like throwing his hands up. And it's funny because in this one, if they zoom out more, he's throwing both his hands down, which is interesting. I don't know.
It looks like an animated. That does not.
We look as much like D as
Anyway, there's other stories and shit you could check out, but I just thought I'd just throw that in there for anyone who wasn't up on. Look, it looks more like that than Wade. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that up for anyone who was out of the loop and hadn't seen that yet. All right, let's get to the political shit. This is just kind of a funny thing that Kamala did recently, like a day or two ago, or posted 12 hours ago. So within the last probably 24 to 36, Kamala's dumbass did this. I could talk it up, but let me just play it.
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And
Wow, that was the most failed thing ever.
listen, I have fought my whole career to put the people first and to put the people above partisanship. Thank you. Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that.
Bro. The deafening silence says it all.
Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And listen,
Oh, right now it's about your retarded ass.
I have fought
Oh,
my whole
man.
career to put the people.
You have fought your whole career to hop on the next dick that could get you to the next highest place. All right. This is a little bit, and I do have timestamps. We're not going to watch this whole video of PBD, who is kind of a right-wing guy that I like as far as right-wing guys go. And I just wanted to get a few of his little stamps where they're talking about the potential of Kamala being on Rogan, because that's been a big thing. Ever since the rumor of Trump being on Rogan was surfaced about 2 weeks ago, everyone was wondering if Kamala was going to be on there. So I got probably 2 or 3 minutes from these guys real quick, just getting their input on that, and them talking about like a few of the numbers from the big podcast. So
the story of Joe Rogan and Kamala. Everybody's like, hey, is this going to happen or not? And then Joe tweets this. And
This was
he
interesting.
says, also for the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have to have traveled to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to just have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen.
Do you think it's gonna happen, Pat? If you're a betting man,
No. What do you think they're doing? What do you think they're doing here?
give me a second, everybody. Someone said I had static on the thing. Hold on. All right, everybody. Hopefully I'm back and there's no static. Y'all let me know in the chat. Sounds good on my end. I'm going to hop back into it. Appreciate you, Dub. There we go. All right. So let me go back just a bit.
Get to know her
I'm
as
just, yeah, that's fine. I
a
guess.
human being. I really hope we can make it happen.
do you think it's gonna happen?
So anyway, this is just them talking about Rogan tweeted that you know, if you didn't hear it before, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel. So they're basically making it hard on him. And they only wanted to do an hour. So.
You think it's going to happen, Pat? If you're a betting man.
No. What do you think they're doing? What do you think they're doing here?
They're making an excuse to say, hey, listen, you know, we tried to work it out
with Rogan, but
we're so busy that we didn't have time to go to Austin to a studio.
We're
only going to give him an
Joe.
hour. We didn't turn him down. Like, you think Kamala Harris is going to sit down for a 3-hour conversation with Joe Rogan? Still may happen. Highly doubtful, though.
I'm talking.
Did you, by the way, just FYI, did you guys see how, so she's in front of an audience?
I was talking.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Excuse me, Tom.
Kamala.
Excuse me.
Did you see this, PBD?
Tampon Tom.
She's at a crowd, and she stumped. She starts telling the audience to all shut out their names. This is how bad she is.
If this is real,
this is real.
Not manufactured, this is horrible.
PBD, have you seen
And
this?
this is what we just saw.
This isn't manufactured. Why would you do this? Why would you do this at a rally? Go ahead, Rob. Kamala. Watch this. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that.
Is that real?
John!
Because it's
Oh, man. Okay, we've seen it already. Let me skip ahead a little bit.
Horribly
Do
embarrassing.
you think the Kamala Rogan interview is going to happen?
No.
They will
give a percentage.
Okay.
0 to 100.
I think there's only about a 10-15% chance it happens because they are managing it.
What chance do y'all give a Kamala and Rogan interview to happen?
And they don't want it to be what the rest of us would like to see. Hey, go down to Rogan's studio, sit inside. Hey, you went to everybody else's studio. You went to all these other places. Why can't you come down to Rogan's? They're going to manage it. They're not going to let it happen for the obvious reasons.
I'll tell you what.
3%. No, because she an hour. She'd have to sit in there with him minimum 2 hours to maybe 3, like Trump did, and he's gonna be like, no, because like Trump was kind of veering off. He kept bringing him back. She would have to answer actual questions, and that whole. I was raised in he'd ask her questions, he'd ask her policy questions, and he'd hold her foot to the fire. He would
come back to that. Wait a minute.
She has a schedule.
You've said that a couple times, and people think you're full of crap.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Exactly.
That's Rogan's style, and what is she going to do with that?
Nothing. Although they'd cut it short.
Okay.
Dude, we are 1 week out from this election.
Adam says a lot of dumb stuff, but that's true. We're 1 week away as of today, right now. Even me reacting to this Trump thing is a little bit late, just in the grand scheme of things. Not too late, but she has 1 week. If she hasn't done Rogan by now, she's not going to do it. And the impact, if you don't do it like today, the impact is going to be not as big because the timing and blah, blah, blah. So she's not going to do it.
Now, if this lady had any sense, she would realize, what's the numbers you did yesterday that you said how many views did Rogan get with Trump? 30 plus million
something right now.
You put all the views she has together, didn't even equal the
By the way, how did the
views of
Shay
podcast?
interview do? Because I actually think Shannon Sharp is becoming the Rogan of the left. I actually think he does a very good. Oh my God.
Okay. So
Look at his face.
what are we talking?
Oh my God.
In 24 hours, she did not hit 1 million, and Trump got 1 million an hour for the first 24 at least.
By the way, look at the
I didn't even
thumbs
know
up.
that they did an interview.
God.
So this
I didn't know they did an interview either. Everything's still about the Trump thing, even 3 or 4 days later.
broad,
Oh my
this broad is
goodness.
going on Club Shay Shay
And by the way,
to get 1 million views. It's not on Rogan. It's so dumbfounding.
Can we find the up-down ratio?
It's 39.
Okay, so this lady is going to go to a convenient. You don't think they asked Club Shay Shay, hey, what are the questions up front?
You know they did.
Do y'all think they asked, or Kamala and Shannon exchanged like what questions they were going to ask up front, like they said, which probably not that hard to believe. But do you think, which they're going to assume, that Trump and Rogan's was like total just free flow conversation? Do y'all think Trump had any idea of what Rogan was going to ask, or if there was anything that was off limits, or if it was just straight genuine conversation?
Okay, so her equivalent of Trump doing a 3-hour unscripted interview on Rogan that got 30 plus million views is going on Shannon Sharp. Respect. We saw that video with him on Instagram live doing his thing.
I didn't catch this the first like time or two, or like the first time I was like, what is he talking about Instagram live? But he's talking about when Shannon leaked himself having sex on Instagram. So he's throwing some like slight shade.
3-hour unscripted interview on Rogan that got 30 plus million views is going on Shannon Sharp. Respect. We saw that video with him on Instagram live doing his thing. To get 1 million views for an hour on Club Shay Shay, like the math just don't add up. And that's why Trump is, it's neck and neck. It was a month ago, and Trump is basically pulling away in the 9th inning over here, and she's just limping to the finish line.
Okay, that's all I got. I have one more video, but it kind of goes with the Trump thing and Rogan thing, and when it pertains, I'll play the little video and then get right back to it. So that's kind of like a bonus for the Trump Rogan interview. Oh heck no, I didn't want to play that. Fair use, Joe. Fair use. Don't fuck me, you little rat. Let me see what my first timestamp was supposed to be. Okay, let me.
One of the things I wanted to talk to
you almost had a little Alex Jones laugh at him there.
About, I wanted to play this, but we decided we shouldn't play it because it could get copyright strike, and we don't want to get the episode. We don't want anybody to have any sort of way to get it down.
Sure.
Remember you said that, Joe.
But it was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
And you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
I wish you would have played the video or something, because I tried to find the specific video they're talking about and I couldn't find it. And I'd love to see those fucking idiots on The View hugging and kissing on Trump.
Right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were all talking about how you're you might be conservative in your financial positions, but you're very liberal socially. They were talking about
Trump was a liberal socially. Do all the conservatives who support him nowadays remember that?
You in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
Yeah.
But there's probably no one in history that I've ever seen that's been attacked the way you've been attacked.
Trump's like well, I don't know if there's a good comparison. I was going to say he's like the bad boy that the girl's parents tell her not to go after, and then she goes after him because the parents said no, and then he was still a piece of shit anyway. It's like, I'm going to go after Timmy because you tell me no, because that means I think he's gold, but he's still shit. That's what Trump is. Like, the Democrats are like, don't vote for him, and then people are like, I'm going to vote for him because y'all tell me no, and then he's still a piece of shit.
And the way they've done it, so coordinated and systematically. When you see those same people in the past, very favorable to you, like Oprah, when you were on Oprah's show,
Very.
she was encouraging you to be
Last
president.
week I did.
How come you only ever hear like good things about Oprah? You never hear about her, like any dirt on her name at all. All right, I think that's all I have from that clip. Let's see.
But where it really got amazing, we get to the White House, and now it's a little bit before dark. Beautiful.
Joe had asked him, just some context to this, Joe had asked him what it was like when he first got elected. And I don't think Joe was meaning like the first night. He was just meaning like in general, the first couple days, first week, like what it was like doing all your duties. But anyway, Trump goes off on this tangent about being in the White House and all this. So here we go.
And we went up to the president's quarters. They call them the presidential quarters. And I'm standing in this beautiful hallway. It's funny. Nobody ever talks about the White House as being beautiful inside. You think it's going to be, everything's going to be all metal doors and stuff. It's not. It's so beautiful. I made my money largely on luxury.
Trump made his money on luxury. All you people that are blue collar workers and conservatives and don't fuck with luxury, and people that are like that, think about who you're supporting. This man has made his life off luxury. You can tell by the way he talks that he's had a silver spoon in his mouth. But anyway, that's beside the point. But made his money off of luxury.
The hallway is like 25 feet wide. The ceiling heights are, it's so beautiful. But I was standing there, and I said to the guys, I want to see the Lincoln bedroom. I had never seen the Lincoln bedroom. I'd heard about the Lincoln bedroom. And I was standing with my wife. I said, do you believe it? This is the Lincoln bedroom. I mean, it was like, it was amazing. Because
boy, he said Lincoln bedroom about 4 times within about 20 or 25 seconds. The Lincoln bedroom. I want to see the Lincoln bedroom. And I told my wife, I mean, can you believe it? It's the Lincoln bedroom. And that's just like funny, but it also just like, who gives a fuck? But he thinks that's like an important thing to big up Lincoln and big up presidents and that whole like, there's a whole like science behind that. But my point is, when Trump wants to emphasize a point, which everyone knows this, he repeats it. But I think it's more than just like people think it's like a simpleton thing that he's doing, but I definitely think there's a method to the madness behind it. And I remember hearing somewhere like several years ago, someone said Trump is like a borderline hypnotist with the way that he's able to like captivate people and like get to talking and saying the same word. The Lincoln, I mean, it's the Lincoln. He's like hypnotizing you with that. And then before long, you're like thinking, oh yeah, that's an important big thing. If you're like the lower level you are, but either way, it like can distract you from other things too, even if you're on like a higher level. But it's like, anyway, I think it's I guess there's not more to say to it than that. But why does he say it so much? And like, why does he give a fuck about the Lincoln bedroom? Who gives a fuck about Lincoln?
Look, if you love the country, but here you're, the Lincoln bedroom.
Oh, he said it again.
Bed, he was very tall. He was 6'6", which then would be like Barron.
Right.
Would be like Barron Trump. He's 6'9".
All right.
And survival. Because from the moment I won, before I got to office, all of a sudden, they came down. I mean, nobody has ever been treated that way.
Yeah, he's actually right about this. I can't remember in my lifetime there being a president that got in, and as soon as he got in, they were trying to get his ass out, and they were talking shit about him, and they hated him. Now, like I was saying earlier, I feel like it was like a reverse psychology thing where they're hating him so much, and it's the obvious that like the media is so fucked, if you pay attention at all, that like people with a certain amount of reason are going to say, well, these people are so fucked. If they hate this guy and he's doing like a few good things, like, oh man, him all the way. It just like, it pushes you more that way because the left is so fucked. But just because someone is so fucked and they have an enemy doesn't mean their enemy is a savior. So I feel like I could come up with a better example to hit that home, but that's the long and short of it. Just because said person is bad doesn't mean their enemy is all of a sudden your best friend and your savior and some good person even. If you've seen like a show like Game of Thrones, I'm sure there's plenty of like relationships in there where just because two people are against each other doesn't mean you can, and you're against that one of those people, that you can trust the other one. You can't, like, that's not how things work. That's too like you're too quick just to jump to the exact opposite, and that's not a healthy way to reason.
And you see that. I mean, you see where in the Washington Post very early on they said, well, now the impeachment stuff starts. And it did. I mean, it literally started from the beginning.
And if you are someone that's like a more of a conspiracy theorist and a truther and you believe in like the deep state or someone controlling stuff behind the scenes, what do you think they're doing? Because like the left people are already fucking up normal politics. So what operations of the mind and other deep stuff that I can't even think of that they're thinking of, what do you think the deep state's really motherfucking doing? Well, you're worrying about figuring out about them and if they're real and who they are. They're actually doing shit if they're real. So, and Trump's going to bring that up a little later and stuff along that vein of like not knowing the people in the government and like maybe there being other people working doing stuff that he can't control and whatnot. But if you believe the deep state exists, then that's a problem, you know, like, I don't know. That's a contradictory to the reasoning of this, I guess.
So I had survival and run the nation. I had a combination. Most people don't have.
Oh, and I guess what I was getting at is, don't you think they could even control, like push the Trump hate to convince a certain group of people to think he's a savior. Do you think that that is an operation that's above and beyond what a deep state would be capable of? I think that's very within the realm of them propagandizing stuff and like getting you to buy into one of the two sides. So, you know, if you're questioning the government but you're still voting, question harder.
Survival, they get in. I think
this is where he talks about not really knowing that people in the government or not knowing them that well and having to just appoint the best as he could and then just rely on people to do a good job. And once he kind of says that himself, I'll touch on a little more.
What did you expect, though, in terms of, like, once you got inside, you had to appoint all these people?
Yeah.
Like, how many appointments did you have to make?
Well, you
within a
have
very
actually
short
you have
amount of
actually
time?
10,000 appointments. Now they're different. You know, you have big ones, and then they appoint 100 people and 200 people. But the president really is involved with approximately 10,000 appointments. So you'll appoint a secretary of state, and he or she will appoint a lot of people. So it's a lot. But in terms of major ones, you probably have like 100, but they're big ones: Treasury, state, military.
And how did you know who to appoint?
Well, I didn't. I had no experience. You have to understand, Joe.
So
I
are
was
you
there
going?
You have to understand, Joe.
17 times in Washington, and
So he say he didn't know who to appoint, and I think here in a minute he's gonna say I did the best that I could, and then I had to fire people if they weren't good or whatever. But I made judgment calls based off of the little I did know, based off who I kind of like their policies, based little I did know. So he's admitting he's having to appoint people that he doesn't know if they're gonna do a good or bad job. And he's relying on them to do a job. There's thousands of people in government all doing stuff. People think the president, I think, has more power than he really has. And if there's all these people in government and there's the swamp and most politicians are corrupt, then if you think you're just going to vote for Trump and one man is going to save everything, that's ridiculous. There's thousands of other employees, as you just said. There's Congress and the Senate, which is hundreds of other people that all play a role. There's the Supreme Court. There's all this stuff going on, and you think, oh, Trump's going to get in there and save everything and make America great again. He's even admitted here he only has so much power, and he's relying on all these people that he doesn't know to do stuff. So, like, if it's a corrupt system, then that's like saying, and I had a good comparison the other day with, like, the NBA. Oh, I said, that's like saying if everybody in the NBA, the refs, and the league and the players were all in on cheating and rigging the games, but just, let's say LeBron James at his peak, the best player, he wasn't in on it, and he was trying to win and actually compete fair. How much impact do you think, or Michael Jordan back in the day, if Michael Jordan was the only one trying to compete fairly and win, and everybody else was rigging it against him, who do you think would succeed? The one star player, even if they have tremendous impact, or all the other things are going to overrule them? So even if Trump is some superhero and everything else is working against him, do you really think he's going to be able to have that big of an influence? And I would argue he's not. But I'm going to argue further and further, the further we get into this interview, and the more I've done in other videos as well, that Trump is just not who they're selling him to be, and who some of the people that like him want to believe him to be, which is like some new to politics businessman rebel that's gonna save you. That's bullshit. He's not a rebel, and he's not gonna save you. He's just the other shitty side of the coin. So let me get ahead to my next little timestamp.
Involved in politics, but used to be appointing top people. So,
what did you think it was going to be like? Versus, like, did you have any ideas of what it was going to be like, and what was different?
well, I was always involved in politics, but usually from the standpoint.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Of people. So,
what did you think it was going to be like? Versus, like, did you have any ideas of what it was going to be like, and what was different?
well, I was always involved in politics, but usually from the.
Wow, I was always involved in politics. One more
people.
time.
So,
what did you think it was going to be like? Versus, like, did you have any ideas of what it was going to be like, and what was different?
well, I was always involved in politics, but usually from the standpoint of a donor. I was a donor.
I was always involved in politics, but usually from the standpoint of a donor, which we're going to get into that later too when he talks about politicians being controlled by foreign interests and their money. So Trump, if it's bad to control politicians with money for your interest as a businessman, because you can bribe them basically to do whatever the fuck you want, why were you involved with politics for so long, bribing all these motherfuckers? So that means you were in politics. You were with the grimy shit. You do know how it works to a degree, and you're a fuckstick.
Donor. You know, I was a big donor. I gave
Fuck
money
you.
to politicians. I enjoyed
What it was going to be like and what was different.
Well, I was always involved in politics, but usually from the standpoint of a donor. I was
Right.
a donor. You know, I was a big donor. I gave money to politicians. I enjoyed politics.
Mostly Democrats, right?
Both, really, pretty much both.
Well, I'll pay anybody who wants to do what I want.
Actually, pictures of Ronald Reagan and me when I was very
But
young.
you were a Democrat until like what year?
I was a Democrat. I could get you the exact, but the early 90s, I switched over eventually. Actually, they had a reform party. I was thinking about doing that for a little while, but then fortunately I didn't.
Excuse me. I don't know if I really have an opinion or anything to say, but what do y'all think about Trump switching party sides like halfway through his life and probably a good 20 years before he decided to run? I just wonder, excuse me, like how calculated that was, and maybe there's more significance to that I'm not really picking up on now. But what do y'all think about that? That's very unusual for someone to.
Because it's very hard. You know, it's a two-party system. And anytime you hear third party, I know you like RFK Jr., and so do I. He's a fantastic guy.
I do, but I thought
that
that
whole
being
thing
an
is very
independent
tough.
was nonsense.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work because even if you do great, you're not going to get Congress. In other words,
Right.
you need now to say, okay, now I'll get half of Congress. They're never going to vote for you. So even if you...
So that was a good point. If you're a third party member, even if you were to get in, Congress is going to hate you and neither side's going to work with you, which is trash. But he admits that kind of, amongst other things, I'm sure, forces you out of being a third party candidate and forces you into one of the two parties, which, like, I'm sure there's even more to it than that, but just like that the fact that there's huge disadvantages to not being third party is like even if you believe the Kool-Aid, that's terrible. But you
got there, which is very hard. And I know how you feel about Bobby, and I feel the same way, and he's now with us. But it doesn't. It's pure and simple. It's a two-party system.
Right.
So anyway, that's that. He's talking about Bobby. He's talking about RFK Jr., which a lot of people liked him and would have voted for him as a third-party candidate. But because they know I could probably do more research, but there's probably many factors working against them. But just alone that he said they're probably not going to get big endorsements from like the rich people that always the super PACs and all that kind of bullshit where they really get big money. They're not going to get none of that. And then if they do get in, they're not going to have support from either side of Congress. So I'm talking like Trump now. I think those couple things together with plus a lot of other things, but when you can't get any laws passed and you can't get any goddamn money from like big time supporters, which unfortunately is how the game works, then you're probably going to have a problem, and they make it hard on them to get in the initial debates. They have to get like a certain percentage or something. They make it real hard on independents to get into the debates. So I thought it was interesting that he talks about like how there's not an incentive and it's actually like a disincentive to be an independent. And then let's go to, let me skip ahead.
Is an excuse, and I don't like having excuses. So you'd never had a thing like this. But in terms of me, and sometimes I'd use it as an excuse, and I don't like having excuses actually, but I'd use it as an excuse. I had to rely on people that I respected or liked, but that I didn't know that well because I didn't know them that well.
Here we are again. He's talking about when he first got in. He had to rely on people that he didn't really know that well.
Some of those people I campaigned against because, when you have 18...
And some of them were people he campaigned against. How do you like that?
18 people. We had mostly politicians running in the election, running in the primaries. And they got knocked out one by one. But I got to like some of them. Some of them I didn't like at all. And I don't like them now. And I'd rely on them and I'd rely on other people. So all of a sudden, people would come in. I'd like to recommend so-and-so to be Secretary of State. and I have 3-4 people recommend. One thing I can tell you, Joe, everybody wants the position.
Of course.
No, but sometimes I'll hear a lot of people don't want to work with Trump because Trump is tough to work with, etc. Let me tell you, everybody wants to be any one of these positions.
I think he's talking about people that are in the political world, even if they're left-leaning or they act like they hate him. If you're in the political world, you would easily work for him. I think that's what he's getting at.
Die for it.
Of course.
Now, they
would
don't want
die
to be
for
known.
it.
I mean, there's a particular guy in New York, primarily, very big, very successful, very strong, very political, although he's not a politician. He'd give anything to be Secretary of State, but if they ask him, no, I don't think I would do it. But in the meantime, begging for it, okay?
Begging for it.
Everybody wants it.
But my
Everybody wants it. I think everybody that's brainwashed by the system, and I think in the more official seeming job you have, the better you are and the higher up you are, and like the better everyone's going to respect you if you have some more official seeming job. But I can believe those kind of people, but that doesn't mean everybody. But I definitely get what he's saying. Like people that are on the left, if they are in that world of impressing people and having real official high up jobs, they would easily work for him, even though they said they wouldn't. So it's hypocrisy, and it's part of the crooked games. And just shows like how people are so weak when it comes to like what they perceive as power. People are so weak when it comes to just caving in on their morals, or they probably don't even have morals, just being a little worm. Let's see. I guess the next clip kind of starts right here, so I'll let it play out.
By the way, no matter what you do, but it's very dangerous to pick somebody outside of a politician because a politician's been basically vetted for years.
Right.
You pick a business guy, and they've never been vetted at all, and they're the head of a big company or something, but they've never been vetted.
If you've been a big business guy in New York and you've been paying politicians for 17 years or however long he said he was, you've been vetted. The IRS knows who the fuck you are. The mayor of New York knows who the fuck you are. You are on TV. You have pictures with motherfucking P. Diddy. People know who you are. It's not like you just came out of Ohio or Iowa or fucking West Texas or the swamps of Florida and they're like, who the fuck? That's almost what happened with Obama. He came out of fucking nowhere to me. But it's almost like no one that's ever been involved in politics ever just came out of nowhere and started running. It's like, no, you were known. The government knew who you were. Like, you were a big money spender. Everyone knew who the fuck you were. So this idea that I wasn't vetted, it's like, you were vetted in some sort. If you were being super shady in ways that they didn't like or were not okay with, or if you weren't towing their company line, they would have had you in jail. You didn't just show up. It's like P. Diddy. He could do all he wants, but when it's time for it to come due, they do what the fuck they want. If you weren't doing what they wanted or they had a reason to, they would fuck you over and up. So he wants to act like I haven't been vetted. It's like, dude, you've been around. When you're dealing with that much money in New York for that long and you're on fucking TV with The Apprentice, like, everyone knew who you were, bro. They know who you are. Like, they don't know me. I wasn't vetted. That's like, what world are you living in where that's real on any level to you?
You know nothing about his personal life.
Right.
You pick a business guy, and they've never been vetted at all, and they're the head of a big company or something, but they've never been vetted. You know nothing about his personal life. You know nothing about.
We knew a good, decent amount about Trump and his personal life versus like 99% of other people. Come on, dude. This is like ludicrous for him to say this. This might be the stupidest. It might not be the most like thing that gets him in trouble, or like, oh, we can pick apart and prove that that's like a terrible thing for him to say or believe. But like, this is just face value, like one of the most dumb things he fucking says. This interview.
About where he's been. When you put him in, it's a little bit dangerous because.
And just dead wrong and dumb.
All of a sudden they get checked up and you hear things that you're saying, wow, this is not going to work out too well. So it's very dangerous. Picking people that are.
You're saying we didn't know you were a pussy grabbing rich fucking idiot before you ever got elected is ridiculous, dude.
Outside of politics is somewhat dangerous.
So you're kind of stuck in a position where you have to pick established people. And then the problem with established people is established people are already indoctrinated into the system.
And they're stiffs in many cases. They're
Stiffs.
If you're a millionaire, are you not already indoctrinated into the system? You don't make $1 million without being indoctrinated. Come on, bro. This is like jokes.
They're survivors. I find that, you know.
What do you mean by stiffs? When you say stiffs?
A stiff, they don't have nothing. They have nothing. Or they're smart and survive. One little thing. So there was a congressman years before I ran.
Pay attention to this story. I was going to leave this part out, but I decided to leave it in because Trump says he respects a guy, and let's watch what he says he respects this loser for.
And I was very close to him. And I needed a license.
And very
on
close to
something,
him.
And he was very important in getting the license. But it was a little bit controversial, the license, this particular thing that was being licensed.
Oh, wait. Trump had someone close to him in politics that was going to get a controversial license passed for him? No, none of that kind of stuff ever went on. Trump, you weren't a part of politics, dude. What are you talking about?
But I was close to this guy and helped him and everything else. And I went to him. I said,
I wonder why y'all were close and what you helped him with.
like to have your help. And he said, let me take a look at it. I said, ooh, that's not too good. But I really hope you're going to help. And anyway, he tapped me along for a long period of time and ultimately didn't do it. And I said, you are a stiff. You could have done this thing so easy, etc. But it was controversial. He was in Congress for many years, like 28 years. And, you know, there's a reason when somebody's there for 28 years, you got to be sort of smart.
Right.
You know, you have all the scandals. And I realized he was a survivor.
And so they never do anything controversial.
He talks about him like he's a fucking cancer survivor. He was a survivor. 28 years in Congress. He was fucking the American people.
Well, they never take any chances or speak their opinion that's outside of the...
Yeah. And yet I don't disrespect him for it.
So
I actually...
And yet I don't disrespect him for it.
Respected the guy more.
I actually respected him more. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck you. And that guy. Fuck y'all. Trump respected this fucker more because he sat in Congress for 28 years and took our money and did nothing. And just was a bump on a log while everything wrong was going on with our country. And then occasionally, I bet he did do stuff for Trump. This is just the one time that he didn't. What about all the times he did do shit that was a little shady or whatever, however you phrased it? It's like, dude, this story is just fucked.
Or do anything controversial. They never take any chances or speak their opinion that's outside of the... Yeah.
And yet I don't disrespect him for it.
So
I actually respected the guy more in a certain way. I said,
because he did survive.
You know what? He's been there like for 28 years.
It's all about longevity, just like LeBron. It's like, dude, this is fucking gross. I respected him 28 years.
And he made it through. A lot of people don't make it through.
It's a good way for non-exceptional people to survive.
Well, it is.
You nailed it. That's the nicest way I could have put it, Joe. All right, let's see what my next clip is. There we go.
And he was right, but he was good in a certain way. He's a nut job. And every time I had to deal with a country, when they saw this whack job standing behind me, they said, oh, man, Trump's going to go to war with us. He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East. They should have never done it. I used to say it as a civilian. So I always got more publicity than other people. And it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe
he said a lot of wild shit, and then CNN, in all their brilliance, by highlighting your wild shit, made you much more popular.
Yeah.
And they boosted you in the polls because people were tired of someone talking in.
You hear that? He would say wild shit, and CNN would talk about it all fucking day, and it would boost him in the poll, almost like a tag team. Hey, are you gonna do that dumbass? It's like Step Brothers. Hey, don't fucking touch my drum set. Oh, I think I'm gonna touch it. Don't you fucking touch my gun. You know, and then before long, they're fine. It's just like, it's a tag team, bro. It's like, I'm gonna say something that's borderline racist and that's kind of offensive and then they're gonna be like, "Oh, don't you hear what he said?" That's literally what happened at his rally recently when fucking Tony Hinchcliffe said some shit, made a joke because he's a fucking comedian, and then everyone's like, "Oh my god, did you hear what he said?" It's just like, come on, bro. You don't think that was a fucking, like, come on. All right, let me get to the next clip.
I think
You know, it's funny. You need at least the attitude of a comedian when you're doing this business. This is a very dangerous business. First of all, it's a very tough business. When
it's the most dangerous business.
It's the most. Well, for
is being the president the most dangerous business? Really? Come on, dude.
For a job?
Yes. I mean, other than going to war and being a firefighter or being a cop, it's the most dangerous business.
It's the most dangerous.
You notice how everything else they listed was like serving this country? They're trying to make it seem like brave. Oh, other than being a cop or a firefighter or military, other than something that serves your country where you could die for us, that stuff is the most dangerous, aka most badass. And then right after that, it's you, Mr. President. You have the most dangerous job. I mean, come on, bro. This is gross.
Being president is the most dangerous.
After watching this a couple times over, getting ready for this, I can say that Joe definitely didn't press him as hard as he should have. And he did a few times. I will give him credit. But I feel like more often than not, he kind of just like let it. He did it a few times, but sometimes he let him slide and just felt like he even mentioned this afterwards in a fight companion thing with his homies that he kind of picked his spots. And I guess you feel like with Trump, he's so dominating and so overwhelming that if you called him out the whole time, you might piss him off or you wouldn't get anywhere. So you kind of have to like let him go sometimes. And then sometimes when he's like really far away from the thing, kind of rein him in. So it's a great watch for many different reasons, but that's something to watch. It's a beauty in itself, is to see how Joe handles the challenge of having someone like Trump who's so dominating. And if you'll notice, Joe prefers to wear headphones, and with almost every guest, unless it's somebody really big that prefers not to, they almost always wear headphones because he thinks it helps with the whole flow of the show. And he's talked about it before. But you notice Trump didn't have them. He's one of the ones that he probably said, I don't want it to fuck with my hair, and it feels weird, and I don't want to do it. And Joe's like, okay, no problem. So Joe is willing to go a little bit, it's the president. He views that as like a bigger deal. He's treating him with like kid gloves just a little bit differently than he would like some other guest. And what do y'all think about that? And how would y'all grade Joe's performance in this interview? And how do y'all grade Joe as an interviewer overall? Like, y'all think he's top tier? Like, obviously his show overall is top tier, but do you think he's a top tier interviewer? Do you think there's things he can improve on? And how do you think he did in this interview with Trump? How would you rate Joe's skills as an interviewer and how he was able to handle Trump more or less? And what do y'all think? But yeah, that's interesting to me.
Especially you. I mean, you haven't even got to the election. There's been 2 assassination attempts, and they've brushed those out of the news like it was nothing.
Yeah, they'd rather not talk about them.
Trump hasn't talked about the assassination attempts much either. The only thing he did is he like played up the ear thing for like a few, like maybe weeks after it happened. But since then, he did play it up for maybe a good month after that. But he's pretty much tailed off of that. He hasn't talked about the 2 other assassination attempts that have happened. And overall, I feel like he would actually, I really don't think I've watched a Trump rally since then. So he might still be talking about it, but I don't think I've heard. I feel like he's not mentioning it as much as you would expect. I feel like every time he opened his mouth, he would be saying things about it. But I feel like both sides have downplayed those more than you would think, because the more they get talked about, the more people I think would start to ask questions. And there's some like, my number one question is, without going all into it and picking it apart right now, is why were these 2/3 assassination attempts right now? How come no one tried to assassinate him before he was running the first time, or when he was in office the first time, or since then? He's still been like trouble according to the left and like riling up stuff and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's been all this time since he's been political, as he would say, since 2015. How come no one's ever tried to kill him until now? It's just like very curious.
Imagine if there was assassination attempts on Biden, how hard people would be attacking the right, how they would be trying to get guns taken away from people. They would try to ramp up gun laws.
That's true, and I think all that stuff is coming. I just feel like it's going to be a delayed effect.
They would try to figure out some way to blame you. If there was attacks on, if Biden got shot in the ear, we would have never heard the end of it.
But I think he's in good shape because it's only consequential presidents. If you take a look at what's happened, look, I'm for having countries pay us billions and billions and trillions even dollars. I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. Nobody took in 10 cents, not one other president. I do things that make it.
I wonder if that's true. Not one president took in 10 cents. Like, okay, really? Let's see. What's my next timestamp? I think this one's going to be about the media lying about Trump a little more.
Yeah, I was very popular, and and all those people love me. I mean, this some of these women, they're so stupid. And Joy, she would every time she'd see me, I'd be in the theater or something, and
I can't believe Joe didn't push back on that and say, well, just because they have, like, man, I just think there's a way, and I feel like normally he would have pushed back on, like, well, you're going to call them stupid, like, maybe they're, like, going against their word, and, like, that's not good, but, like, I don't know, I feel like he would have pushed back against that on anyone else, because Trump did offer a criticism or a reason why, but it almost seemed like a little bit of a separate statement where he's like, these women are just so stupid. It's almost like that statement just stood completely on its own, and I'm surprised to not see Joe have like a disclaimer afterwards or like try to get him to like clarify or like any kind of pushback. Like that was, for me, when I heard that, I'm like, okay, Joe's definitely not being his total regular self here.
These women too. But you know, it's interesting when you mentioned I was very popular, and all those people love me. I mean, some of these women, they're so stupid. And Joy, she would every time she'd see me, I'd be in the theater or something, and she'd, you have to be on the show again. Come on, let's go.
She loved you.
To love me.
That episode where
by the way,
people should watch that episode just to see what we're talking about. Like I said, we don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're not going to.
I don't know because I am not on Twitter at all, but I would hope Joe mentioning something like this twice and really encouraging people to watch and check it out. Like, if you have the video or don't have the link to it, like, Joe, please, he's not going to see this, but like, I wish he would fucking put it on Twitter or like drop it somehow so that we could all fucking watch it, because I tried to find it on YouTube kind of quickly and I found one that may have been it, but I don't think it was the full thing because they weren't all hugging and like, you know, loving up on him like he's talking about. So I would love to see that video. Anyway,
put it up, but if you watch the episode, it's bananas. It's like an alternative universe, and it's only
but Whoopi
9 years ago.
Whoopi loved
you, gives you a hug and a kiss.
And how about that other one, the new one on there, the one from my administration? She writes me.
How is she in your administration and you don't know her name? Come on, dude. That's either like that's bad that he doesn't remember or he doesn't care. Let's see.
I've seen the worst. Kamala goes on 60 Minutes, gave an answer that a child wouldn't give. It was so bad. And 60 Minutes took the answer out. They took the whole. And they put another answer in.
They edited it deceptively.
Which didn't make sense either, but it was better. They took it wasn't editing. It was fraud. This was not editing. You know, editing is where I'll give an answer and they'll take a couple of words and change them around, or they might even take a sentence or two off, which is very bad. But it's sort of bad. You know, I'd give an answer which was a very good answer. I always talk about, you know.
What do y'all think about the media completely changing out her whole answer and putting something else in there? And then they do the same thing for Trump. Like he said, they'll take out a word or take out a sentence, or they'll just he'll have like they'll just take one sentence out of a paragraph, and if you listen to the whole paragraph, it doesn't sound bad. But if you listen to that one sentence, it sounds terrible. They'll do that. They'll just give you a one sentence excerpt. That's one of their popular ones over the past 6 months with him. So it is weird how they'll do that, but it's like super easy to see through. It's for like super baseline people that works on. So I really just encourage the people to like, don't believe the media. Think for yourself when you hear something. Like, I don't know. You just got to realize that they've lied so damn much and start looking at them with a distrustful eye. I think they've deserved at least that much by this point. You should be looking at them like they're a criminal trying to prove their innocence at this point. Let's see. Let's move on up here. They talk a little bit about the police.
Crime is way up because people have lost. Look, the morale that the police department has in a lot of these cities where they've done this defund the police bullshit.
Right.
The morale of these poor cops. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest idea of all time.
So bad.
But what they've done is they've made these cops.
I actually agree with the, like, not completely defunding the police, but like cutting back on some of their stuff and like make it to where they're only doing stuff they're absolutely essential. Like, we don't need police setting speed traps. I could see that like doing away with, and I'd be cool. Like, I don't think we need that. Or if it becomes a problem in an area, then put a patrol dude out there to catch people. Sometimes people go too slow on certain roads or certain areas, and there's like a consistent problem with that. If there's a consistent problem with like traffic clogging up, then put a cop out there to see what the problem is. And if there's some type of driver that's causing a problem, write those people tickets and get the flow going again. Or if people are going too fast through a certain neighborhood, put a guy there and nip it, you got to nip it, like Barney Fife on Andy Griffith. But if there's a certain problem like that, yeah, have people out there to address that. But just to have a cop sitting behind a bush to catch the occasional person going 5 or 10 over, like, I think everyone would be glad to see that kind of shit go. There are certain needs for cops, but I think cutting it back and to a respectable level where they're not overreach and they're not like annoying people, because I think it's gotten better recently, but I think there for a while they were just overkill where they were annoying people with their overpresence. They were where they weren't needed. It's like, if you're there when you're needed and you're the community hero, the community is gonna love you for being that hero. But when there's a decent enough amount of people that would say you're a pest, that's a problem. So I think cutting it back a little bit and letting the people self-police a little bit, like, we don't want that to get crazy and out of hand, obviously. But like, I think for the most part, the fear of consequence, and like most people are not brave to like do some wild shit from what I see. There are still criminals and shit, of course, but like most people are not like looking to commit a crime because they're just too scared to do the time. And I'm one of them. So, not like I'm Mr. Tough, but like, I'm getting around to saying, like, I think there are enough other factors that keep people from doing a bunch of wrong that we don't just need all these freaking police out there. I think cutting the police back a little bit was more than fine. But, you know, here these two blockheads are agreeing on that was a bad idea. So anyway.
I feel terrible. They're like good cops. I think cops are just like everybody else. Most of them are great. It's like everybody.
I feel like most cops are like most people, and most people are absolute shitty idiot retards. And that's how a lot of cops are. And a lot of times with a cop, it just depends on what, just like everybody and anybody, like they're saying, what his prerogative is and like what kind of mood he's in and blah, blah, blah. But like, I just think the duty of cops is bad too. Like I was saying earlier, when you're going to have cops intentionally, their job is like have a speed trap, that's ass. So, you know, I think less policing and just having them focus on the places where they're actually needed is the way to go in my eyes.
Everybody else. But if you run into one carpenter and he does a shitty job in your house,
right.
You say carpenters fucking suck, but they don't suck. Most of them are great, and
Police
that's the key. Subsequently,
we went to pull over. He's a gentleman. Please pull over. Door opens. Guy comes out firing. Even if they were allowed to pull out their gun, which they're not, they can't, you know, pull
do
out
it in
the
time.
gun.
Yeah,
they still wouldn't have time.
Why are you pulling someone over? Like, I think 9 times out of 10 cops pull people over for stuff they don't need to be pulled over for. Like, if you're not endangering anyone on the road or you're not stopping the flow of traffic, like, why do you need to be pulled over? They're like, I found some problem, so I'm gonna get this guy today and fuck his day up and write him a $250 ticket because his taillight might be out, or he didn't use that turn signal quick enough, or what the fuck ever. It's like, did that need to happen? But he's talking about cops have laws where they can't approach with a gun drawn, and like if they open the door, roll down the window, and you already have your gun ready, you could just kill them. Like, you need to make sure it's a damn good reason to pull someone over, and I don't think cops should have guns anyway, because why do cops need to be killing people? If you're going to engage someone that you already know is a threat, then they should send a SWAT team or a special team with guns for that specific event. I don't think every cop around needs to be having a gun. Why? That's ridiculous. My opinion.
Every cop's worst nightmare.
They open a door.
What about every citizen's worst nightmare? Every cop's worst nightmare. You're signing up to police and do this job. It's going to be dangerous. Your life's going to be on the line. If you don't want to do that, don't sign up for the job. But as a citizen, I don't want to just be speeding a little bit or not know my brake lights out and get pulled over, and then I doubt things are going to escalate. But I don't like some, just by whim or whatever, I get pulled over and then all of a sudden things are out of my control. And this guy could potentially kill me because he has a weapon and things are in his control. I don't like that whole scenario like at all. So the less interactions I can have, the better for me. So, and I don't want them having a gun. Like, the fuck?
And he was killed and his partner was hurt. He was killed. And you don't even have an eighth of a second to think. And
anyway, I don't want to get too much more into that. I will talk about it all day and debate, go into it, but I think I've heard all I need to hear and said all I need to say, for right now. Yeah, I just had in my notes that I think the rules, aka the laws, should favor citizens, not the cops, which, I think that should be obvious. If they're there to serve and protect us and our safety and best interests are the number one, then I think everything should favor us, if anything, in every interaction we have. And I think cops should be preferably ex-military. I would like to see that because I feel like they're a little bit more tested, battle-hardened, and they take life a little bit more seriously, and they have just been through a lot more situations that are more serious, and so they have a better scope on life, I think. And a lot of times, if they're, there's a bad seed and everything, like they were saying, but most military guys are all in all pretty good, I would say. I would like to see someone a little more calm when it comes to serious situations because they've been in a lot of them. And, just what I said, experience. I've said it in a number of ways, but just experience I think is better, and experience in more high tense situations than just a regular cop. So I'd like to see more military people in policing. And, yeah. Let's see. Next little clip.
Our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And
I would be interested to see what tariffs would do to force other countries that are sending like all their real cheap shit over here. It would kind of like balance shit out. I'd be interested to see. That's one thing that he says that I am interested in and think could be a good thing.
Speak like that, but he was right. And then around in
one of my history teachers, I can't remember who, but it was probably, I want to say it was one of my junior high history teachers, but they were telling me that a big part of the Civil War was also the tariffs and how the South and the North were fighting over tariffs, and the South was getting a lot of cheap shit from overseas, and they were sending their cotton overseas, and they like didn't really have to fuck with the North. They could just send and do trade like that, and the North was like, well, you're fucking us over, so we're gonna put tariffs on y'all. And the South was like, fuck you, and then boom, Civil War. So I heard tariffs played as big a part of slavery, if not a little bit more, because it all came down to that green dollar bill.
Early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. They, believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now, but around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, they believe
So he said our politicians switched to an income tax because
me. They control our politicians.
the other foreign interests control our politicians. So if they're controlling our politicians with money, how do you know this? Oh, I thought you weren't in politics. Oh, wait, you are. Because you were paying them too. What were you doing when you were paying them? You weren't controlling them. I got a little ahead of myself. But like, okay, they were paying them and controlling them. So what the fuck were you doing? The same goddamn thing. And how do you know? Because you were fucking doing it. It's like, bro, come on, dude. This is so crooked. And if you know they're all crooked and they all can't be trusted and they're all being bribed, then why enter the swamp? Because you're going to fix it and kick them out? Right after you got done saying you admire some guy who was slugging around the swamp for 28 years and not doing a fucking thing? Oh, I admire him more for doing that. It's like, dude, you're such a fucking lying piece of shit. I mean, I'm sure you're telling the truth. Either you're telling the truth now or you're telling the truth when you're on stage saying you're going to kick people like that out. But I think you're telling the truth now and lying on stage when you're telling you're going to kick people like that out. But all your stupid supporters fucking believe you. Fuck off.
If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make,
bitch,
then and now, but we had a commission meeting in the I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich. We had so much money. We didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on cars. I think you're a fan of Elon.
him.
He is from a different planet. You can do that. Elon did that. By the way, Elon is great. That guy is such a great guy. I think you're a fan of Elon. He is from a different planet. He's a great.
He's from a different planet. It's probably more likely that Elon is from another planet than that he's a genius that makes all the shit that everyone thinks that he does. That is like the biggest lie to me. I do not believe that Elon's a genius. He seems like a bad actor in all senses.
This guy, that rocket coming in.
Yeah.
I told the story once or twice.
Fuck Elon and his rockets.
So you may have heard it because his speeches have been good. Did you see the one last night?
Yeah,
29,000 people. That was
Yeah.
And the one the night before was the same thing. We are rocking and rolling. But Elon, and I'm talking to this very important guy. I said, wait a minute. I'm looking at something. The television's unmuted, right? And I see this rocket. It's all brown from the heat. You know, it's like 10,000 degrees pouring down at thousands of miles an hour. And I see this thing, you know, it's like a 20-story building.
And it catches
And
it.
I say to this guy, who's an important guy, wait a minute, let me just put you down. Hold it. I got to see this. And I see this, and it's going to crash. I say, it's going to crash into the gantry. They call it a gantry. I said, oh, man, that's going to be a disaster because it's starting to get very close. And then all of a sudden you see the flames in the bottom, and it boom, and then you see the two arms grab it.
Crazy.
And I forgot the guy. I had him on the phone. I forgot. No, I said, the hell with it. No, I called.
It's because you're a dumbass. It's because you're a dumbass bitch.
I called Elon. I said, was that you? He said, that was me. And I said, who else can do that? He said, nobody. Russia can't do it. The United States. Nobody can do it. You know, I set up Space Force.
Nobody can do it. Elon, he's the only one. Oh, but wait, Trump set up Space Force. If Elon's the only one that can do shit like that, what the fuck was Space Force for?
Was me, and that's the first time in 82 years that we opened.
He didn't explicitly say it here, but he's basically referencing it, and he said it before. He said, well, maybe he misspoke when he said it before, but he said, Elon's the only reason we can go to space. And he almost he said, Elon's the only one that can do that rocket landing thing. But he was kind of referencing when he said before in another speech that Elon's the only reason that we can go to space. If Elon's the only reason we can go to space, he said that at the rally with him and Elon that were there, and I think I did a video breakdown of it. If Elon's the only reason we can go to space, then what the fuck, and is the only reason and the only one, what the fuck are the other countries doing, and what the fuck are we doing with NASA and the motherfucking Space Force? What the fuck is the Space Force? That's a joke. Get real.
Opened another branch. Can do that. He said, nobody. Russia can't do it. The United States. Nobody can do it. You know, I set up Space Force. That was me. And that's the first time in 82 years that we opened another branch since the Air Force. And that's going to be one of our most important things. But think of what Elon does. And he did one other thing that I never heard of it. It's Starlink. I went to
Elon, he did one other thing I can't think of. All right.
North Carolina. I said, could you do me a favor? Do you know Elon Musk? Yes. He endorsed me. By the way, he gave me the nicest endorsement, too. The tough. He said, the country's going to fail. You should do the same thing, Joe.
Woo! You do the same thing, Joe. Oh, man.
Voting for Kamala. Kamala, you're not
Kamala.
a Kamala person. I know you. I've watched you. I know him better than he is. You know what? Without speaking to you, I think I know you maybe almost as well as your wife.
Oh, no. No. I think without speaking to you, I know you better than your wife. Oh, no. Just let that sink in. The person that Joe probably sees every day, except for when he's on tour and whatnot, the person that he sleeps with and has kids with and is known for over probably 10 years. I think I know you probably better than your wife. What the fuck are you doing? Oh.
I have watched you for Kamala. You're not a Kamala person. Just endorsement, too. The tough. He said, the country's going to fail. You should do the same thing, Joe, because you cannot be voting for Kamala. Kamala, you're not a Kamala person. I know you. I've watched you. I know him better than he is. You know what? Without speaking to you, I think I know you maybe almost as well as your wife. I have watched you for so many years. You're not a...
That is just such a weird thing to say, too. Who the fuck says that the first time meeting and having a conversation with someone? Without speaking to you, I think I know you better than your wife. Can you ever imagine yourself fucking saying that? I can't even say it without a Trump voice because it would be the weirdest fucking thing ever. Yeah, without, no, it's just like, I know you better than your wife. Like, the fuck? Who would say that? That is wild, bro.
Kamala person. You're a Khabib person, but you're not a Kamala person. Nobody's going to know who Khabib is, but...
they know.
No one's going to know who Khabib is. He couldn't even say you're a Trump person. He had to say you're a Khabib person. You're a Khabib guy. No one's going to know who Khabib is. Not like they know me.
He was not bad, right? That guy.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
But that's your kind of person.
Wow, the ego on this guy.
Was getting wide. We're getting wide with
my
this.
weave.
I want to bring it back to tariffs.
But wait one second before we finish with tariffs. So they said,
I think they mentioned it earlier and they brought it up there again. How Trump, like, he doesn't speeches or like his rallies and on interviews he'll like start on one topic and move to another one and move to another one, and before long, but Joe and him have this thing where they talk about bringing it back together, and I may have missed the part where they talk about like that not happening and getting lost in the weeds, but sometimes that even happens to me when I'm talking. But yeah, it's just interesting to see them bring it up and joke about it, and I think that's something everyone's seen, but to see it finally addressed is something that was cool about this interview.
They said, could you get him? We need Starlink. And I call Elon. He got it for him so fast, saved so many lives.
See, he brought up Starlink in the disaster efforts in like the southeast with the hurricanes, and then he got all distracted and went off into Joe endorsing him and all this stuff, and then he weaved back to Starlink. So anyway, let's see. Did I miss the weave? Let me see. I don't think so. Anyway, I'm gonna skip ahead quite a bit. They're gonna talk a little bit about the environment.
That are environmentally devastating.
Sure, yeah.
And you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
You do. Look, I had, during our 4 years, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water. I view it differently. I say air and water. Remember this, it costs much more to do things environmentally clean. China doesn't do anything.
Right.
When Kerry goes to see President Xi of China, which he probably doesn't even get to see him, but they look at him, oh, yes, we will do. Oh, yes, we're going to do that. No more coal. And then they approve 58 coal plants for the next, they build a coal plant a week. Okay.
They build a lot of coal plants.
But let me just tell you, though, so here we are cleaning and scrubbing everything, and everything's got to, and the air's got to be pure. But in 3.8 days, that stuff floating over China is right over the top of us.
Right.
Same thing with the oceans. They dump their garbage into the Pacific Ocean. If you take a little cork
He's cooking our garbage
and put it there, in about a week and a half, it'll be in front of Los Angeles. We're picking up their garbage. So nobody ever talks about that. But in a way, the bigger one is even the air. It's the currents. It's an amazing thing. It's been flowing that way for 1,000,000 years, or long before
We
long
share
before
air
we
with the
were
whole
there.
world. Yeah.
No, if we're
We get the
cleaning,
Sahara dust clouds over here.
Absolutely.
We get dust clouds in Austin from the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, that's what they are. I thought he said something about him having the cleanest air before I get off of this.
unions, all the municipal stuff, environmental. Of all of it, to me, the toughest thing was the environmental, because they could stop you cold with the environmental impact study stuff. And you hire a so-called expert. They say, sir, he's the one guy he can get.
Fair use, fair use.
It's a morass. It's horrible. They use it as a weapon. They use it all over the country.
Right, but there are legitimate concerns about environmental
There
impact,
are,
correct?
there
Like,
are,
look
but-
about the BP oil spill. There's a lot of things that do happen that are environmentally devastating.
Sure, yeah.
And you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
You do. Look, I had, during our 4 years, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water.
I guess you said it and I glossed right over it. How can you have the cleanest air and water just for 4 years? Bro. That makes no sense. So, excuse me. Right before, excuse me. How can something be the best and then right before that and right after that, it's like nowhere close to that? So it just went from being like trash to the best, right? Like right when from Obama to you, it was from the ass to the best, or medium to the best, and then now whatever you would say it is. It's like how is it just the best when you're in? Like immigration was just he thinks he just flips his switch and this shit just happens. It's like how? Like that doesn't even make sense. You could say it was bad when we first got in there and we fought for 2 years and it got up, and then for 2 years we had the cleanest. But just to say for 4 years we had the cleanest air and water. What? How? It didn't carry over. There was no carryover between, like, before you or after you. There was no carryover. Like, come on. I find that like ridiculous. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Y'all feel free to watch the whole interview. I'm not gonna obviously go over all of it. I'm just hitting kind of some key points that I found when watching through it that I thought I could talk on. And there's some decent parts that I missed, but I think for the most part I got like 75 to 80% of like what's good and noteworthy. But with that being said, every time I watch it, I notice new little things that I could flesh out or talk about. But I think I got most of the significant stuff. And I thought Weston was going to call in. Maybe it's not quite as interesting as I thought it would be. And I get maybe him not really thinking there's anything worthy of talking about. But one kind of question I would like to pose to him, and maybe viewers like him that are not as in the political realm, what do you think about something like this that is something that's political being probably the biggest thing out right now? Like, for it to get a million views an hour for the first 24 to 36 hours, that means it is the biggest thing media-wise out right now. And it's political. What does that say about what we are, where we are as far as like our entertainment? And I guess the fact that it is with Joe Rogan, who's like a huge pop culture thing, but like the thing with Joe Rogan is he does like his whole specialty is like having thoughtful, long conversations. So the fact that long, thoughtful conversation and political kind of mix over is the biggest thing that everyone's viewing right now in our society. That's an interesting thought within itself. And what do people that aren't as into that have to say about that? If you're not into politics and really just not pay attention to it at all, like I'm not into it and against both sides, but I pay attention to it so I can dispute both sides and try to get people out of the system as I see it. But if you're someone who's unplugged and out of it and just doesn't pay attention, and you like that you don't pay attention, I salute you. But what do you have to say about the majority of people evidently being at least entertained by it? Yeah, what do you think about the majority of society either wanting to see it for political reasons or at least being entertained by it? What are your thoughts on that if you're not into it? Y'all get in the comments and let me know. So I talked my head off for a bit there. Y'all probably skip that. But if you come for the good conversation and the good breakdown by me and the extra, you're probably loving that. So here we're gonna have a clip where Joe and Trump talk about those big wind turbines and how sometimes they're actually not the best for the environment. And I'm gonna let this play out for about a minute. I'm gonna go get a drink. I'll be right back. But I should be back in time to pause it and give a little talk about it.
After 10 years, you have to replace them. Did you ever look at certain parts of California where they have heavy windmills and they've been abandoned? And they're all different manufacturers and all different companies, and they all.
I haven't seen that.
It is the ugliest thing. It looks like a graveyard almost, a graveyard of windmills.
It's pollution.
It's so bad.
It's
and
no
in the
more,
oceans.
It's no different than leaving garbage on the ground.
How about in New Jersey, off the coast of New Jersey, they want to build.
Sold over 1,000, baby.
The people are going crazy not to build them. But where you have them, the whales are washing up on shore.
Right.
So in 50 years, they had one whale come ashore. Now they had like 18 come in the last year.
What is what is happening with the whales? I've read about this.
Well, they say that the wind drives them crazy. You know, it's a vibration because you have those.
That's crazy that the turbines being in the ocean vibrates the water and shit, and it fucks up the whales. That is fucking crazy to me. Like, super interesting.
You know, those things are 50-story buildings, some of them.
Right, and they're
50.
super sensitive to vibrations.
They have
and
those,
sounds.
you know, the wind is rushing, the things are blowing, it's a vibration, and it makes noise. You know what it is? I want to be a whale psychiatrist. It drives the whales freaking crazy.
There's a lot of interesting stuff with sea life, with whales and dolphins and how they communicate, and especially how smart like dolphins are. And there's some interesting theories about that. Maybe I'll talk about it in an upcoming episode. I've heard, I'd like to look into it, that humans are not supposed to communicate with dolphins, which is, if that's true, it'd be kind of weird and interesting. So anyway, dolphins are pretty smart, and whales, disappointing to see these turbines. And they talked a little bit before. I think I skipped it, or I was probably gone whenever they talked about it. But the turbines also break down. They're hard to dispose of if the people are done with them, or if they do break down. And they end up hitting a lot of birds as well. So, and they seem hard to maintain because they're giant. So anyway, not maybe the most practical thing. Kind of like electric cars. I feel like it sounds good in your head, but it's not practical on paper. So here we're going to jump ahead to Trump talking about Biden pulling out of the debate and kind of thoughts on that.
Speak, for lack of a better term.
You know, it's interesting because during the debate, I was looking over. I'm saying, this is strange. It's just sort of like strange things were happening.
Yeah.
But
well, he couldn't keep it together. But do you think
strange things are happening to me? Ain't no doubt about it.
They knew he couldn't keep it together?
I think
Do you think that they wanted that? Is that why, like, historically, that debate was earlier than they've been in the past, right?
I think they wanted to get, well, there's a lot of theories. A lot of people said, do the debate now and we'll get him out.
Right.
I think that maybe could be.
Well, that is what happened.
But that's
so
what happened.
It's logical.
I think they
to
also
assume
said,
that's
do
what they
the
wanted.
debate now and get it over with.
Right.
I don't think anybody thought he was going to.
Yeah, at the very, very least, they said, let's just do the debate now while he's not going to get any better. Speaking of Biden, let's just do the debate now and get it out of the way. It's early on in the election cycle, so we don't have to, we just get it out of the way. And just like time-wise with his mental state, blah, 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 let's just do it and get it out of the way. That's the best case scenario for us, right? And then, you know, they ended up pulling him out and putting in Kamala. But it still it happened in like a sweet spot where it didn't happen super early, to where if he would have been bad super early, then they could have had the primaries and stuff and had someone else. So it's interesting, the timing of it still was late enough to where they didn't let anyone else compete for who it could potentially be other than Kamala.
Get out, really.
No,
I don't
it didn't
think
make any sense.
The debate got him out, but I think it's very unfair. Look, you have a bad debate. His numbers went down, but I think she's not doing very well right now, and I think she looks.
Well, I want to get to that too, because it's hard to know. Like, the whole poll thing is very bizarre for most people, because most people don't answer polls. So they read the polls, then
Were
like,
you
who's
ever
getting
called
polled? I've
from
never
a
been
poll?
polled.
I was
if I
never
did, I'd
called-
hang up.
I was never called by a poll system.
If I did, I wouldn't answer. I'm busy.
You know how
Yeah,
polls
who does polls?
are done? I'm going to get myself
Please.
in trouble, but So I really don't believe
Trump just says polls are bullshit, but I guess I'll let it play out a bit. But yeah, polls are
too much in him. So
Well, 2016 taught a lot of people about the ineffective.
Well, they were very
use of polls.
ineffective because
Yeah.
I thought I was doing well. I'd go to a place and I'd have 30, 40,000 people. Hillary would go, they have 500 people, and they tell me I'm going to lose. I said, why am I going to lose? I had 40,000 people. She had 200 people. But, you know, I have a theory. These pollsters, they charge you a lot of money, too. You know, they charge you $500,000 to do some stupid poll, and they interview like 251 people. What to do? I think he's terrific.
He's great. He's a fantastic
He
fighter.
was almost like undefeated in college.
He's a fantastic wrestler and one of the best mixed martial
When
artists.
is he fighting again?
He's fighting in Madison Square Garden in November.
Oh, that's going to be.
And also was the denial of the election results is a pretty common thing. Hillary Clinton famously denied that
Yeah.
she called you an illegitimate president, and she said that Russia put you in place.
Even though she conceded.
Yes.
You know, she conceded the night of the election because she was beaten.
Yes, and it was a thing that was pretty common for people.
That's a good point by Joe, though. They act like Trump's the only one to deny an election or contest it or act like something was going on. Hillary and all them were saying Russia, Russia, Russia. Sound like Trump now, but they were like screaming Russia collusion and he stole the election or rigged it. So it's almost like they set up the precedent, and you see that a lot with politics. Like one side does something crooked, and then the other side feels emboldened to do it, and then vice versa. So that was one of the areas where like they screamed that he stole the election, and then what is he going to turn around to do when both sides are saying a lot of the same things about each other? I guess is also the point. But yeah,
especially Democrats, that denied the elections. There's been many of them. The Bush administration, the dangling Chads, all that stuff.
Well, look at these guys in Congress. All these sleazebags in Congress that are Democrats.
Ooh, all these sleazebags. These are people you have to try to work with, and that you say you respect some of them for just staying in the swamp and not doing anything. Remember? Oh, but now they're sleazebags.
Still denying 2016. But now they don't so much because, you know, they try and pin
He's
it
so
on me.
full
You
of
don't
shit.
hear them say
But here's my
they
point.
denied it right up until the end.
My point is this idea of
Let's skip ahead. Let's see.
It was okay. Yeah. Ballots, et cetera, et cetera.
there's certain people that
Remember, I
think that
lost
they
my-
have, and there's the rhetoric is also that you're Hitler, and that
Yeah,
in
that's
order to
negative.
stop Hitler, you have to do whatever it
That
takes.
was okay, yeah.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, you're hearing this now.
That's craziness too. They compare him to someone like way worse than he is, and then just what he said to justify it's like clearly Trump might be bad, but he's not fucking Hitler, right? So like when you start saying that, okay, yeah, it means you can do anything because the whole thing with Hitler is he's one of the most perceived as one of the most evil people of all times, and we all did whatever whatever it took rather to get rid of him. That's the story that's drilled into our head. So when someone's compared to him, we start thinking they're crazy and we need to do whatever it takes to take him down, which is not true with Trump because he's not Hitler. And what else was I gonna say? Then if there is someone that bad on the scene, it's gonna take away if you're calling Trump Hitler and all these people crazy and stuff like that. Then when someone crazy or Hitler like does hit the scene, it's gonna be like the boy who cried wolf. We're like, oh yeah, you said that with Trump and it was never true. You know, you said that for 10 years with Trump and it was never true. And then some new guy's gonna come along and we're not gonna. That's just, you know, an example. Not saying that's gonna happen, but it just dulls down the effectiveness of calling out stuff. And then if someone does hit this, but someone might hit the scene doing some crazy shit, and then you're not going to be able to call them out on it because you called out Trump who was doing some mediocre shit as like the worst thing ever. So if you call someone that's not the devil, then when the devil shows up, he's going to masquerade as, you know, the other guy. So anyway, let's see. This next one is a funny clip where Trump talks about kind of more or less like threatening Putin into like doing what he wanted and preventing the war like he always talks about. But it's a funny clip and he uses like a funny voice. So this will be a good clip.
President.
How would you have stopped it?
He automatic, two things. I told him. I said, Vladimir, you're not going in. I used to talk to
Vladimir, you're not going in. He did the Biden for once where he gives the deep voice.
him all the time. You know, Ukraine, if I were president.
How would you have stopped it?
He automatic, two things. I told him. I said, Vladimir, you're not going in. I used to talk to him all the time.
That's
You're
too
not
good.
Going in.
You're
I
not
can't
going
tell you
in.
what I told him because I think it would be inappropriate. But someday he'll tell you. But he would have never gone in. But you know why else he wouldn't have gone in? Oil prices at $40 a barrel wouldn't have allowed him, wouldn't have given him the money to prosecute that war.
That's interesting. He always talks about those countries being broke if he was able to like manipulate certain things about the oil and the economy. So I don't know. I'm not saying everything's trash when Trump's in. I'm just pointing a lot of the inconsistencies and funny parts in this one. Mostly inconsistencies. Let's see. And stuff that I disagree with and just pointing out where I fucking don't agree. This next one's a pretty funny part too. Skip ahead about 10 minutes.
Was supposed to last. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. By the time I finished, we had no problem with North Korea. We were really, it was a little tough at the beginning, remember?
Mm-hmm.
He said, I have a red button on my desk. I said, I have a red button also, but mine's bigger than yours and mine works.
I liked how you called him Little Rocket Man.
I said, yeah, Little Rocket. I said, Little Rocket Man, you're going to burn in hell. And it was a rough.
Yeah.
Oh, so rough that people were worried. This is crazy. And then one day I got a call, sort of like a fight. I got a call. You know, you ever see one of them pounding, then all of a sudden, but I got a call. And it was from him, meaning his people. They wanted to meet. They wouldn't meet Obama. He tried to meet. They wouldn't even talk to him about it. And I think he expected, this is crazy.
Little Rocket Man. Mm-hmm.
He said, I have a red button on my desk. I said, I have a red button also, but mine's bigger than yours and mine works.
I liked how you called him Little Rocket Man.
I said, yeah, Little Rocket. I said, Little Rocket Man, you're going to burn in hell. And
you're going to burn in hell.
Yeah.
Oh, so rough that people were worried. This is crazy. And then one day I got a call to meet.
Right.
Building nuclear. Just relax. I got. And
oh, this is a good part too.
Easy and relax. Go to the beach. You have beautiful beach. Well, I got to know him better than anybody. And I said, do you ever do anything else? Why don't you go take it easy and relax? Go to the beach. You have beautiful beach, nice beachfront property. You know, kiddingly. I said, you're always.
And he's talking about Kim Jong-un.
Building nuclear. Just relax. You don't have to do it. Let's build some condos on your shoreline. They actually have gorgeous stuff. And he said, I just have to do it because I need it for my safety, etc. I got to know him very well. We had no problem with him. If you have a smart problem, if you have really the right president, a smart president, you're not going to have a problem. And I say it to people. We have a bigger problem, in my opinion, with the enemy from within. And it drives them crazy when I use that term. But we have an enemy.
Fair use, fair use.
From within. We have people that are really bad people that I really think want to make this country unsuccessful. When you look at what's happening at our border, Joe, when you have people coming in that when other countries are allowed to empty their prisons into our country with murderers, we had 13,099 murderers dropped in our country over the
Where's the proof for that?
Last 3 years.
And 15,000 rapists.
A total combined of almost 30,000 criminals. Where are all the stats to show this? Where are all the murders and rapes that are taking place because of this? I've been saying this recently to my friends in conversation, and I think I mentioned it in a video with Joey, but like, if stuff was so much crazier with immigration and there was all these murderers and rapists around, people would not be sending their mothers, wives, daughters to the fucking store, to school, out in public. You'd be like, babe, you're not going anywhere without me, or you're not going anywhere without a gun, or like, hey, did you hear about such and such on Facebook the other day or on the news, local news? Like, and there are the occasional thing that happens, but we're looking for crime numbers that are above normal or way above normal. Where are these numbers? They're just saying things. Oh, 13,000 this, 15,000 this. Where are the facts? Where are the crimes of, yeah, we had 2 extra murders in this county this year that we normally don't have, and normally we at least have a suspect, and we know that that's a person of our community. This year we have twice as many murders, and we have a suspect, but they're not a person that how would you say, like, they're not on our census or whatever. They're not someone that we know is from our community. That would be like, okay, wow, crime's up, and boom, it's someone they don't know who the fuck it is. But like they don't have any kind of stats. They're just like 13,000, 15,000, blah. And Joe doesn't question him on this. He just goes right in line with it. It's like, are you bought and paid for, or like you're definitely bought in?
Convicted
Rapists,
yeah,
drug dealers, drug lords.
And that's just the ones that have been accounted for.
Correct.
But then they're still here. Like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
Hundreds of thousands of major criminals, tougher and worse than anybody we have.
It's funny that since immigration has gotten worse, Joe moved from California, which is still considered a border state, especially in the south part of California, down to Austin, Texas, which is near the fucking border too. It's like, are you really worried about immigration, bro? Like, what the fuck?
Seeing the consequences of it in San Antonio, they've taken over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado.
If you live in San Antonio, have they taken over apartment buildings over there? I would love to know about that. Shoot me a news link or a Facebook story link or anything you know about that. If you're from San Antonio, or if you have family in San Antonio and have heard something about this, shoot me a link and a YouTube link or a news story link. I would love to hear about apartment buildings in San Antonio that have been taken over by Colorado gangs. Is this really going on, or is this just bullshit? Like, I don't know. I don't like that Joe's just falling in line with this shit right now.
They've taken over apartment buildings. These Venezuelan gangs.
Just the beginning.
What do you think the strategy?
Let's see. He's gonna say, "What do you think the strategy is?" And he's gonna say, "I think the left's trying to like get him to vote." Like, I guess I can let it play out a bit. Yeah.
Strategy is, one of the things that they've said is that you stopped a bill from being passed, but didn't that bill also include amnesty for the people that are already here?
Joe, this is years after the fact. The damage was already done.
But
why couldn't he just answer yes or no and then go off into whatever he's going to say?
What was the bill?
Well, the bill was nothing. It allowed 2 million people in. They were going to get amnesty. It was a horrible bill. It didn't protect us at all.
But we should just tell people what the strategy is. So one of the things that's been their strategy. One of the things that's been very clear is that they've moved a large percentage of these migrants that are coming across the border illegally. They've moved them to swing states. Like, this is what's going on with Springfield, Ohio, right?
They're in swing states. Well, that's not a swing state. I'm going to win Ohio by a lot. So that's not a swing. But it's called Springfield, Ohio, to be exact. And Springfield, Ohio.
Isn't that where The Simpsons is filmed?
Is this very nice community of 52,000 people that just had 32,000
That's super interesting.
migrants that don't speak the language dropped into their community. You can't get into a hospital. You can't get into a school. It's gone from a beautiful little place to a horror show. And the mayor is a nice guy. And the mayor says, we're looking for interpreters.
All right. I'm thinking I'm going to skip ahead a bit. There we go.
By this imbecile. And I mean it. She's a low IQ person.
Woo!
Low IQ.
Right, but it's also obviously not just her. There's a strategy that's involved in letting these people in.
She was in charge of the border.
Well, she's in charge of the border, but they also they utilize that app. The app that used to be used was her.
By this imbecile. She's communities, but they don't like to talk about it because it's bad for the community to talk about it. These people have been let in here by this imbecile. And I mean it. She's a low IQ person. Low IQ.
Right, but it's also.
I thought I was gonna get the name out of him. Let's skip ahead.
I made a little bit of a sarcastic joke. A man named Dana White, who you love, who I love. I assume you love him.
Love that dude.
I think he's in a class by him.
He's probably the reason why you're here.
Trump did not like hearing that.
I don't know, maybe.
He's one of the big ones.
He is the great.
And then Joe like reinforces and smiles at him, like basically he is the reason you're here. And Trump wants to think it's all based off of his own merit, and like I'm big dog.
This guy.
I love
You know,
him
I
to
always say nobody's indispensable. You know, everybody can be replaced. Maybe you can't be. You might not be. But
I'll bet he did that a fucking 1,000 times this fucking interview. Look at him gearing up to do it again, dude. It's like he can't help himself. He's opened up the legs to grab that pussy. He's just like used to it. Like, if you just think of it, Joe.
they know what? Truly, I don't think. You know, the things they sold it for $4 billion. I said, "What the hell? Who the hell is going to pay $4 billion?"
I think that's all I had on that. Let me see. Yeah.
And they made like a great chef to have lived it with his face. He's coming.
And all the interests that I have that lead to the podcast.
Will you always want to do you? First of all, you love UFC.
I love it. Yeah.
You love the fights. I mean, I watch
yeah.
you. You are loving it. They could pay you nothing.
Woo! You are loving it.
Be very.
They didn't pay me anything for the first like 13 shows. I did it for free because they were hammering.
That was good.
First of all,
I guess is that I'm involved in so many different things. You know, stand-up comedy, UFC, and all the interests that I have that lead to the podcast.
Will you always want to do you? First of all, you love UFC.
I love it. Yeah.
You love the fights. I mean, I watch
yeah.
you. You are loving it. They could pay you nothing.
You are loving it. Oh man, he's crooked. I love that though. It's funny. I'm loving it. All right, 57. Let's skip ahead a little bit. They're gonna talk about the poison that's in our food. Oh, wait, no, really?
Back to you and back to what are you? And first of all, I love this idea of you teaming up with Robert Kennedy.
Right.
And I love this "Make America Healthy Again" idea because there are chemicals and ingredients in our food that are illegal in other countries because they've been shown to be toxic. There's pesticides and herbicides, and there's a lot of shit that's been sprayed on our food that really is unnecessary.
Joe's bringing up a great point, and Trump's going to like weave or distract Joe and bring up this chart, and all the chart's going to show is how shitty we are in terms of what Joe is saying, but it's not going to be constructive. Other than that, in terms of the conversation, like, here's what we're going to do. Yeah, we did research and, like, we at least know the problem. Like, not only does he not have a solution, he hasn't even figured out, like, the problem or, like I'm sure there's, like, official steps, like, when you're trying to figure out and solve a problem, you, like, identify the problem, theorize a solution or whatever. There's probably, like, all these official fucking steps. You can Wikipedia or whatever, but, like, in the first step of problem solving, you don't even know what the fuck is, like, you know, you've identified the problem, I guess, but you don't know what's causing it. And you're just like, yep, we're one of the worst with this chart. So let me go back and you can see it unfold before I spoil it.
Robert Kennedy.
Right.
And I love this "Make America Healthy Again" idea because there are chemicals and ingredients in our food that are illegal in other countries because they've been shown to be toxic. There's pesticides and herbicides, and there's a lot of shit that's been sprayed on our food that really is unnecessary. And there's a lot of health consequences that people are suffering from a lot of these things. And
I brought this chart for you.
Beautiful.
Because I had a feeling you'd be asking me.
Thank you.
Look at this chart. These are healthier countries. Look where the United States is. I'm going to send this to RFK.
What did I just say? Oh yeah, we're unhealthy. Here we are on how shitty we are. Thanks, brother. Nothing about like how the fuck you're gonna fix it. Look at that duck face.
Look
so
at
this
that.
is well.
Look at that.
Something along the. I was actually talking to RFK today, and he told me that more than 70% of young men are ineligible for the military because of their health.
I could see it.
That's
a
crazy.
A lot of it's obesity.
So here's the life expectancy versus health expenditure.
Same chart.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
USA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Wow. Oh, we didn't coordinate any of this before, did we? Oh, wow.
Pretty good.
Jamie's the best.
He's very good.
He's the best.
But but look at that. Look where
at
the USA is.
It's not good. And that's our food. That's our diet. That's sedentary lifestyle. That's our diet. That's the chemicals we ingest.
Right here, that's when I left.
Do
The day
you
I
have
left.
anyone that is pressuring you to not work with him? Have there been
To
people
not
that are
work with
reaching
who? To not work-
RFK Jr.?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Yes, I would imagine. Because
I would
financially,
say-
he could put a dent.
I would say that, and I think in many ways they've done a good job. In many ways they've done a bad job. But I would say that the big pharma.
Isn't Big Pharma who you worked with to get the COVID vaccine pushed out in a record time? That wasn't Big Pharma, was it? Let me think. Damn. Who was that?
Wasn't thrilled when they heard that I have a relation. I've actually always got
Johnson & Johnson, Moderna. Who was the other one? That's not Big Pharma, right?
gotten along very well with him. I've known him a long time. He's a different kind of a guy. He's very smart, great guy. And he's very sincere about this. I mean, he really is, he thinks we spend a fortune on pesticides and all this stuff, and then you end up with that chart is a terrible chart, the one previous. It's such a bad chart when you look at where we are compared to other countries that don't spend 10 cents.
Right.
So, and you save a lot of money. But, yeah, I've had some people that aren't exactly thrilled. You can imagine, right?
Sure.
It's a good question, actually.
Well,
That aren't thrilled that he's working with RFK. Mainly the pharmaceutical industry. How do you like that?
certainly if there.
Let's skip ahead a little bit. Here they're going to talk about the weave that was mentioned earlier, where Trump, starts on a topic, weaves in some other examples, sometimes 1, 2, 3, and then tries to get back to the topic anyway. They're going to talk about it.
I make speeches oftentimes, sometimes not, but I make speeches. And when you make a speech, and my speeches last a long time because of the weave, I weave stories into it. And if you just read a teleprompter, nobody's going to be very exciting. You got to weave it out. So you
got to weave it out.
You always have to get right back to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's no good. But the weave is very, very important. Very few weavers around. But it's a big strain on your, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You got to be careful with the voice. You can lose that voice. The voice wasn't designed. I said today, so I made a big one last night. I was in Las Vegas. A big one the night before in Arizona. Big one. I mean, they're all big. We have there's never been anything like it in terms of crowd. Never been close. Never been close. They say, he talks about crowd size. It's very interesting. So we get crowds that are really big. And I say, I've nenever had a story, because I don't.
Okay, he's just rambling now. Let's see. The weave caught me.
The United States, I did great the second time. I did much better. I don't want to get you in any disputes, but I won that second election so easy, and not just because.
But
of
let me
but
get
wait,
to that.
but-
I want to talk to you about
But here's
that.
the thing: I did that, and now I've gotten the nomination again. And don't forget, to get these nominations, you go against very smart people. Ron DeSantis.
Oh, yeah, there's great people that are running in the primaries. They're the best. Those are the smartest people I've ever heard of or met or seen ever. The people that are in the political presidential primaries, those are the best people. They're the smartest people.
DeSantis was hot. Got to go through him.
DeSantis,
Nikki
no one's smarter than him. Nikki Haley?
Haley was hot.
Wow, dude. Nikki Haley? She's well-rounded. She's smart.
Got to go through her. I went through everybody.
Everybody.
Record time, right? Record time. I got 3 nominations in a row.
All right.
The First Amendment. It's bananas to watch.
Joe, they come after their political opponent.
Well, they
I
do.
got more guys. I always say, I kid, but I'm not kidding. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the meanest of them all. He'd kill you in 2 seconds if he didn't like you, right? I've been under investigation more than Alphonse Capone, only because it's political opponent stuff. And I won the big case in Florida. I'm winning the other stuff. You win, but you know what they did? They did something that's only done in third world countries. They came after their political opponent.
Yes.
I could have put crooked Hillary in jail.
Well, not only that, but they're
Why didn't you?
weaponizing it by saying that that's what you're going to do once you get in office.
Isn't it
by
great?
ignoring
He
what
is
they're
go-
doing right now. It's crazy.
I heard it. Somebody was to him. Hillary
I
in
respected
jail.
that you didn't because
didn't.
what
Will you do that to him? If to them, if you win, you know, it's the presidency has tremendous power. I could have put crooked Hillary.
I
in
respected
jail.
that you didn't because
didn't.
what you said was it would be bad for the country.
What did he just say?
If to them, if you win, you know, it's the presidency has tremendous power.
Right here.
I could have put crooked Hillary.
I
in
respected
jail.
that you
I could have put crooked Hillary in jail, but you didn't.
didn't because
didn't.
what you said was it would be bad for the country.
No, I can't. I couldn't even imagine. You have, first of all, Secretary of State, but more importantly, the wife of the President of the United States of America going into jail. And if you ever saw when I'd say something about her, they'd all say, I didn't say it. I never said it.
I never said it. Okay. And then why the fuck bring it up in the way that you just did? I could have put her in jail. Like he wanted to, like he thought about it, like it was something that was on the table that he wanted to do. He just didn't. He said it in that way. I could have put her in jail. And then he's like, I never said it. They said it.
They say, lock her up, lock her. And I'd always go, take it easy, just relax. We're going to win this thing. Take it easy, take it easy. And I'm telling you, I kept it down, just the opposite. Now they say, oh, Trump wanted to put her in jail. No.
What was that, fat boy? Because I think we have a video. Oh, what is this? What is this? Oh, wait. Whoa, man. What is this a video of?
News, where he claimed that he never called for the imprisonment of his 2016 Democratic opponent.
I didn't say lock her up, but the people would all say, lock her up, lock her up. Okay. Then we won. And I said pretty openly, I say, all right, come on, just relax. Let's go. We got to make our country great.
But this is a ridiculous attempt at revising history. Trump was documented saying the
All right,
phrase
show us,
and
haircut.
calling for Clinton's imprisonment numerous times throughout his 2016 presidential campaign and in the years following.
Hillary Clinton has to go to jail, okay? She has to go to jail. Has to go.
Bro, that almost looked like a fake Trump, dude. Low key. That looked like a fake clone fat wig Trump. That looked like fake Trump right there. But at least he's saying, obviously, he's saying Hillary needs to go to jail.
Hillary Clinton has to go to jail, okay? She has to go to jail. Has to go. I think Hillary is very weak. I think she's pathetic. I think she should be in jail for what she did with her emails, okay?
For what she's done, they should lock her up. She's disgraceful.
Trump did shift his stance for a time, including in a speech after his election victory in 2016, even lauding Clinton's service.
We owe her a major debt of.
So he changed his mind, but he was saying before 2016 to play to people that didn't like her and to push people over to his side that hated the left and hated the Clintons. There's a whole group of conservatives, many conservatives, most conservatives cannot stand the Clintons. So by him saying that, he knew he was going to push a good 85 to 90% of conservatives right into his fucking arms. We are going to lock her up. He said it even though he didn't mean it. That's what happened. But did he say it? You bet your fucking white ass he did.
Presidential campaign and in
One more
the
time.
following.
Hillary Clinton has to go to jail, okay? She has to go to jail. Has to go.
Has to go. Hillary Clinton has to go to jail. Here we go.
Will you do that? Will you do that to him? If to them, if you win, you know, it's the presidency has tremendous power. I could have put crooked Hillary.
I
in
respected
jail.
that you didn't because what you said was it would be bad for the country.
No, I can't. I couldn't even imagine. You have, first of all, Secretary.
Why say it then? I could have put her in jail. You just said it now. And then in the other videos, you're saying she needs to go. She needs to lock up. And then he's like, I couldn't even imagine it. So which is it? You could have put her in jail. He even still talks like that. Like it was a thought. He was going to do it. He just didn't.
But more importantly,
Couldn't
the
even
wife
think
of
about
the
that.
President of the United States of America going into jail. And if you ever saw when I'd say something about her, they'd all say, I didn't say it. I never said it. They say, lock her up, lock her. And I'd always go, take it easy, just
Sir, you are a goddamn liar through and through.
relax. We're going to win this thing. Take it easy, take it easy. And I'm telling you, I kept it down, just the opposite. Now they say, oh, Trump wanted to put her in jail. No, I saved her from going to jail. They had more stuff on her, and Comey had it.
All right.
robbed in 2020.
Yeah, totally.
How do you think you were robbed? Everybody always cuts you off. I'm going to allow.
Well, they not only cut you off. Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another.
I've noted this part of my notes as a good point where Joe actually holds Trump down and tries to pause and tries to get him to like answer some shit, and he doesn't let him just escape super easily. So I'm gonna stop periodically, but take note of that during this little section right here over the next like minute to minute and a half of video time from 2 minutes or 2 hour 17-minute mark on to about the 2 hour 18.5-minute mark of the actual Joe Rogan video. Yeah, I feel like Joe does a good job of kind of like moderating and controlling it.
Rob
Protect her, but he did her a great disservice
because he wanted attention.
He was stupid.
So I want to talk about 2020 because you said over and over again that you were robbed in 2020.
Yeah, totally.
How do you think you were robbed? Everybody always cuts you off. I'm going to allow.
Well, they not only cut you off. Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another time, and
he tries to put it off.
I would bring in papers that you would not believe. So many different papers. That election was so crooked. It was the most crooked election.
Okay, but give me some examples of.
See, he's like, okay, if it's so crooked and so obvious, give me some base level things that, like, of all the papers you're gonna bring in, give me some examples of like what that shit is.
How?
Well, let's start from the top and the easy ones.
Okay.
They were supposed to get legislative approval to do the things they did, and they didn't get it. In many cases, they didn't get it.
What things?
Anything.
Legislative approval
like
of...
for extensions of the voting, for voting earlier, for this, for all different things.
It's like a game.
By law, they had to get legislative approvals. You don't have to go any further than that. If you take a look at Wisconsin, they virtually admitted that the election was rigged, robbed, and stolen. They wouldn't give access in certain areas to the ballots because the ballots weren't signed. They weren't originals. We could go into this stuff. We could go into the ballots, or we could go into the overall. I'll give you another one.
Are you gonna present?
Yeah, I was reading an article that was like kind of hard to read. I'm not gonna lie, but it was about the Wisconsin shit, and it was saying that like one of the congressmen or somebody that's an official like appointed a guy to look into it, and the guy he appointed sent an email to like one of the county offices to get some of the records to like look into it and see if everything was legit, and his email went to like a spam folder and they never responded, and then he tried to contact them again and they never responded, and then the story was like so in depth. I'm not sure if that information was ever obtained because there was a dispute over some other stuff that was also like sealed and not like obtained. But my point being, like, why would it be shady if someone with the government is set up an official, like, it's nothing crazy, that, like, they're doing stuff within their job to make sure the election went through how it did, and like they're not able to just get what they need easily? That's a red flag to me, and that's kind of what Trump's talking about. And it may have been more than just that, but that's just one article that I had read.
Let me ever. Like, what do you think? Like,
let me just give you one more
go ahead.
before. 51 intelligence agents come up that the laptop was from Russia. It turned out to be totally false.
51 former intelligence agents, right?
They say that made. I don't believe.
If there's that many people that are willing to lie and betray and cheat you, like, how do you know that the whole thing's not compromised? How can you trust any of it if he knows all these congressmen are trash and swamp, and there's all these intelligent agents, and like, who the fuck can you trust? Like, why are you still running? This just does, so much about this doesn't make sense. And Trump just is part of the system, so he can't admit the whole thing's bullshit, even though it's so clear that it is. There's so many problems with it that it's bullshit. He just can't admit that because he's part of it. It's not that he can't, he just never would and won't because he's part of it. Let's skip ahead. Oh, actually not. It's right here.
I believe it's this much, but it doesn't have to. I lost by I didn't lose, but they say I lost by 22,000 votes. That's like 1/10 of 1%, less than that. It's a tiny little thing. 22,000
That's
votes.
the only thing smaller than your pecker, bitch.
That's spread over this period. So 51 intelligence agents lied. They lied. They lied. They knew it was. It was hunters. It was.
Then how the fuck can you trust anybody? Like, come on, bro. If at least 51 intelligence agents lied, who else is lying? You're like, I broke it down just a minute ago, but that's just like, come on, bro. Let's see. Let me skip ahead.
The lock boxes.
But just in terms of narrative, so there's two things, right? There's the Russia hoax. There's the collusion with Russia.
This is where Joe actually hammers down some, I wouldn't say they're hardcore facts, but they're at least some like baseline facts and things that we all accept to be true now, more or less.
That was never proven, right? That's one.
Well, no, it's proven it didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But they talked about it on
but
television.
But it took 2.5 years to prove.
But not only that, but it was a constant narrative on television. So
Sure.
that's
And-
a
and-
constant
and-
narrative. That
How come there's a constant narrative that actually was proved false that Trump and Russia colluded to steal the election? Where is the constant search and news pressure to find out who the fuck tried to assassinate Trump? And see, it's so obvious that they're not doing that. They want conservatives and people that support Trump to just focus on that. Like, they're making these facts and breadcrumbs like that thing I just said. Oh, why aren't they looking for that? That's just another. They're like leading you to Trump with breadcrumbs. It's like so obvious. They have the left for people that are just totally blown, and then they have the right for people that are like, oh, I'm not gonna go with the left. They have breadcrumbs like lead you to Trump and make him seem like he's what you need.
it gets into people's minds, especially low information people that just watch the news,
Sure.
that you're in collusion with Russia. So that's one.
Sure.
So that changes the narrative. And then
Ugh. Just the lowest level people believe that. Then there's the other low level people that believe in Trump.
you have the 51 former intelligence agents that work with the original Twitter and get them to remove links. You can't share it on DMs. You cannot share that story. They swept that story because they said it was Russian disinformation, even though they knew it was not.
100%.
So that's two examples.
Yeah, them censoring social media is bullshit. And like definitely tampering. And they never want to talk about that. So that's a good point by Joe.
Of a dictator. I was a very straight guy. But look, those three things, you take those three things, each one of them by themselves causes the result to be different. Okay?
It does.
And then you can go into 100 other things. There's so many. We can't have corrupt elections and we can't have open borders. You need to have a country. You need borders. You need fair elections. And I'll tell you the other thing you need is you need a free and fair press. One of the things I like about doing a show like this, can you imagine Kamala doing this show?
I could imagine her doing this show.
She'd be laying on the floor.
She was supposed to do it, and she might still do
wasn't
it,
gonna
and
do
I
it.
hope she does.
She's not gonna
I
do
will
it.
talk to her like a human being. I would
If
try
she
to have a
did this
conversation
kind of an
with her.
interview with you, I hope she does because it would be a mess. She'd be laying on the floor comatose. You'd be saying, call in the medics.
I think we'd have a fine conversation. I think I'd be able to talk to her. I wouldn't try to interview her. I just try to have a conversation with her and hopefully get to know her as a human being.
All right. Let's skip ahead a little here.
But she
coach
lied too.
versus
She
head
lied
coach.
too. Thing we've had, I want to tell you, it's one of the biggest things we've ever had on Google. It just hit. But the reason I did, and I actually, you never know about this stuff. I thought it was a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think our conversation's a throwaway, but I thought I'd walk in, and that was only to highlight the fact. And I have a friend, he owns like 56 of these McDonald's, and he said, "Do you want to use one?" I said, "Yeah, I love it." So we went there, and the crowd was crazy. They had 28,000 people around the whole thing. Did you see the outside? It was crazy. The cars couldn't get through. Secret Service was not exactly thrilled.
28,000 people were surrounded by the outside. Crowd was crazy. Cars couldn't get through to get their order, and Secret Service wasn't pleased. So I know this was somewhat planned and the thing was shut down, but a lot of people that were not able to be controlled on some level showed up and were not planned for and were not vetted. You want to talk about not vetted? After there's been supposed three assassination attempts within the past, however many more months, like 4, You're just going to show up at a McDonald's one day when there's a bunch of random ass people outside, a crowd of 30,000. If there was a crazy dude, he could easily see this on social media and show up and be there and blend in and get even have a chance to be in the same area as you. You know how fucking dangerous this is? Like, you're just going to show up at a random fucking McDonald's after you've been assassinated or attempted assassination 3 different times within the past 3 or 4 months? Like, how dumb is this? If that crowd decided to stampede or do something crazy, Secret Service would be able to do nothing. This is crazy to me.
I thought I'd walk in, and that was only to highlight the fact. And I have a friend, he owns like 56 of these McDonald's, and he said, "You want to use one?" I said, "Yeah, I love it." So we went there, and the crowd was crazy. You know, they had 28,000 people around the whole thing. Did you see the outside? It was crazy. The cars couldn't get through. Secret Service was not exactly thrilled. They had no idea what the hell. But
they had no idea what the hell. 28,000 people, cars couldn't get through, crowd was crazy, Secret Service wasn't thrilled, they didn't know anything, they were like, what the hell? Sounds like you could have got killed, dumbass. Dumbass! I mean, it's just like, what the fuck am I hearing right now? Oh, man. Let's see.
But you have a border. What I don't
But you have a border. Yeah, thanks, dickhead.
understand is who would want people to come into our country from places unknown, like sometimes they'll say about a fighter, from parts unknown, right? Remember Haystacks Calhoun, from parts, he says from parts unknown, the oldest, those are the old days. That's even before you. But who would want people to come in pouring into our country? We don't know anything about them.
But I want to ask you this. Why do you think they're doing that?
I think because...
Do you think they're trying to buy votes? Do you think they just want cheap labor? Like, what's the idea?
There's a couple of theories. They hate our country, they're stupid, or they want to buy votes. It's one of those 3 things.
Yeah.
They want it now.
The poor people, like, the rich people are hoarding the money. So basically the people at the bottom that are already poor are going to have to, like, split their money with the other poor people. And it's just going to make us all more poor. So we're just all going to be more poor. And then they get more votes. But it's, like, just to keep us all poor. That's what the Democrats love. And, like, ultimately, that's what the system loves. They're all working for the same system. But that's their little greasy way of doing it. That's, like, obvious to us and gets me even talking in that way. Like, that makes me seem like I'm a Republican or, like, I'm anti-Democrat, which I am anti-Democrat, but I'm anti-Republican too. But that's a little greasy scheme that they want us to see and focus on.
Now, they are trying to get people registered who, don't even know what the country is.
And they're trying to give people amnesty, people that live here. They're trying to give them a path
They want to
to
give them citizenship, and they want to... Well, how about what happened?
If you think about the amount of money that they've given them when they've come here, the food stamps, the benefits that even our poor people aren't getting.
$200 billion, and that's a way low number. That's a way low. It's
those are 2 huge ones. Mailing
didn't have what it took to turn over an election.
Let's talk about the potential vulnerabilities for elections and election fraud. One of them is mail-in ballots. The other one is
there should be no reason that with online banking and crypto and all the stuff that we do online that's expected to be super secure, we all put our fucking credit card on Amazon and shit like that. How come we can't fucking vote online? You can get 2-step verified on like most apps and shit. Like if you're dating apps or like YouTube, you have to be some level of verified to live stream like I'm doing right now. Like we have ways to verify people. Like it just seems like Stone Age shit that we can't fucking vote online and have it verified. Like, come on, bro. That just seems insane to me.
To turn over an election.
Let's talk about the potential vulnerabilities for elections and election fraud. One of them is mail-in ballots. The other one is if someone can break into voting machines, if someone can hack voting machines. Those are 2 huge ones.
So
and
Elon Musk,
Elon Musk, he talks about him like he draws him like a gun. He talks about Elon Musk like he's his Lord and Savior.
I think he said it publicly. I hope he did because I wouldn't want to be the one. But he's a really smart guy, and he's a very good guy with computers, right? You'd say he's
one of the smartest people alive.
Anybody that can
land that
Yeah.
20-story building, and perfect, and boom.
While he's doing Starlink, while
And
he's
while
doing
he's talking to
Tesla,
me about
while he
some-
owns Twitter,
and then he agrees to Starlink,
and he tweets 100
While
times
he's blowing Joe.
a day.
He's
And he tweets 100 times a day. Just go sit on him then, faggot.
Amazing guy. Right?
Yeah.
He said to me,
I like how Trump has this little American flag pin. He is such a loser.
that unless you have paper ballots, it can never be an honest election. That's a big
Unless you have paper ballots, it can never be an honest election. What? What are we in the 90s? I'm just gonna write checks from now on and not ever take a credit card anywhere or my phone. I mean, dude, what?
big statement.
It's a big statement.
We should go to paper
That's
ballots.
a big statement. That's
you know,
scary.
France did. They went.
All right. I have, I think, 2 more timestamps, and we're gonna wrap it up. And I do have, I guess, one more question to kind of refresh for the end, and we'll probably get out of here.
No mail-in ballots. And we're the only one that does elections this way anymore. They've gotten away from
And
them.
this is it ticked up in a big way after COVID. It used to be like soldiers serving overseas.
They use
people
COVID
that
to
could-
cheat.
Yeah. Well, they used COVID to certainly push this mail-in ballot. Another thing
Well, no,
that
but
They use COVID for so many things.
Yes.
But they use COVID to cheat.
But here's another
And the last election was a little bit of a. You couldn't even get security guys, big, strong guys to watch. You know what? You'd call them. They'd call them in this session. They were afraid to go out. You know, we were in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the middle of COVID, right smack in the middle. And they didn't want to die. You know, they didn't want to catch it.
Them big COVID pussy cats. Scared to come out without a mask. The big, tall, strong guys. How mentally strong were they? Jeez, man.
It was like, in a way, it was like a ghost town.
Yeah, it was like something. All right, we got one more timestamp where they talk about aliens for a very little bit, but Trump really can only bring up the topic. He really can't say much. I'm not saying that he can't. He just not like he can't as in someone's holding him back. He can't as in like maybe someone is holding him back, but he plays like dumb on the topic. It's kind of annoying.
But now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it very soon. There's a lot of interest in it.
One of the things that
There's a lot of interest in the people coming from space, you know.
Yes.
And I know you're interested in
Oh,
that.
I'm very
too.
interested in that. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd they tell you? How much can you tell?
So
How's that work? Is it like super
I think
top
I
secret?
Can tell, you know.
Tell
I think,
me.
Well, based on Hunter Biden, I can say whatever the hell I
Yes.
want, right? But no. But I interviewed a few people. It's never been my thing, I have to be honest.
He doesn't say anything interesting at all.
I've never been a believer. I have people that Area 51 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
I think it's the #1 tourist attraction in the whole country or something. Area 51 in Las Vegas. Do you know that, right?
Sure. I know what it is.
So anyway, but it's a big tourist thing. So I interviewed jet pilots that say they saw something. If you saw them, you'd love to have them as
I've
your
had a
son.
couple in here. Commander David Fravor.
Yeah.
I had him in, who had that sighting in 2004. Very, very compelling with
Very
video
compelling.
evidence, radar evidence.
I interviewed,
Ryan Graves.
I don't believe his name, but
Anyway, aliens is a whole other thing that I'd have to do a topic on. I'm gonna have an in-person guest soon. I guess I'm gonna finish out the video here, but yeah, aliens is a whole other topic. I'm gonna have a guest coming up Friday, so I should be posting a podcast maybe this weekend. We'll probably talk about aliens, and we'll cover that then, because that's something that takes me a little time to flesh out. But y'all get in the comments, and y'all let me know what y'all thought about the interview. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about Joe Rogan, how he handled it, and how you view him regularly as an interviewer, if you want to comment that, but especially how you think he handled this interview/episode. And how do you think Trump did? Did it change your mind on him any? Do you think it's going to help him in the election? Kind of what's your opinion on, him and that angle? Do you think it'll help in the election? Do you think it's going to persuade you to vote for him? How do you think he did with 3 hours in a conversation with Joe? How do you think Joe did? And just overall thoughts on the whole podcast. And then if you're not someone that's really into the political thing, what do you think, like I said earlier, of this being a thing where it's getting 1 million views an hour, and it's clearly a thing that's super big in society overall, being that it's like a debate, or not a debate, but like an interview and discussion podcast, and then political, and that's what is garnering like the most attention in today's society. And I would say that, like, even though it's thought-provoking, like, it could be better. So I would say it's like base level thought-provoking type shit. So if you're not really into that and you hadn't seen it, what are your thoughts on it being so big? And you know, any other comments, thoughts, you know, on this video, on the election in general? Do y'all have any other video ideas on the election before it comes up? We only got a week left. Y'all let me know if y'all are voting or not. And y'all let me know, like I said, any other election topics y'all want me to cover before the election's over. So I guess that's it for this stream. Until next time, that's LOG from Where There's Smoke. I'm out. Thanks for tuning in.